back here in Atlanta. A couple of the inactives, the key players for both teams. Vincent Jackson for Tampa Bay and for Atlanta. A big loss is William Moore, the free safety. For more on this game, let's check in with Tony Siragusa down the field. Goose, what are you looking for from Atlanta?
You know, Justin, everyone talks about Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, and they are the nucleus of this offense. But they need one more guy to show up. When they're doubling Julio Jones, they need a receiver who's one-on-one that can make big plays. And talking to head coach Dan Quinn, number 16 rookie Justin Hardy's that guy. It's pretty amazing. When I talked to Coach Quinn, he told me that, I said, how do you know that this is the right guy? This is the guy that you want to go to. He goes, Goose, when the defensive players come up to me and they ask, is Justin going to go and get some reps today? I know that he's the guy that we need to go and get into this offense and get involved a little bit more. So keep an eye on him today, guys.
We certainly will. Tampa Bay kicks off. Eric Weems to return from 5 yards deep in the end zone. And Weems, a good return out to the 26-yard line, tackled by Alteron Werner. As we get our first look at Matt Ryan, 6-1 in his career against Tampa Bay here at home.
Always has had great success against them, starting with his rookie year. Remember, they were 11-5 overall when he was a rookie and went to the playoffs. And Matt's game has been a little bit off in the last couple of weeks. He's not going to say what he thinks of as to why. All he ever says is, I will fix it. Talk about a guy who always owns things. That's Matt Ryan.
And he's got a nice safety net in that backfield with Devontae Freeman on first down. The pass to Julio Jones. And Jones up to the 35-yard line. Let's take a look at this starting lineup for the Atlanta Falcons. Jake Matthews, last year's first-round pick, starting at left tackle. A key player. We saw Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman. Who's going to be that other guy that steps up? We heard about Justin Hardy being that guy.
Wonder if today might be a renaissance of a sort for Roddy White. He might get a better opportunity with Leonard Hankerson hurt as well as Nick Williams out wide.
2nd down and 1. Ryan steps up again, low throw, looking once again for Julio Jones. The defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jaquez Smith, 5 sacks so far this year. Had 3 sacks against New Orleans. Quan Alexander, the rookie. Levante David, always around the ball. And in that secondary, Mike Jenkins missed the first 2 games of this season with a hamstring injury back there. The task, who's going to match up against Julio Jones? 3rd and 1. Freeman in the backfield. Movement up front. The flag is thrown. It's going to be a false start.
He knows how Atlanta went empty set first and then motioned Freeman into the backfield.
False start. Offense, number 67. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
So now you go from 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 6 for Atlanta.
And that changes tendencies quickly, doesn't it, Justin? I mean, you 3rd and 1. You motion Freeman in the backfield. You hand it to him. You see Dan Quinn there. Terrific start with this Atlanta football team. But now it goes from a you can do whatever you want on 3rd and 1 to you're going to throw the ball now on 3rd and 6.
And you got to watch out for Freeman out of the backfield as a receiver. On 3rd and 6, Ryan able to find his tight end, Jacob Tamme, and Tamme gets the first down. Picks up 7 when he needed 6.
And what a nice lunge by Jacob Tamme at the end of the play. See Tamme 83 right here at tight end. He's going to go across the field on a little shallow route. Matt Ryan puts it on him, but watch the end of the play. He might not have been there. Alteron Werner, number 21, has him. He's right behind it, but watch how he turns and extends and picks up the first down. Good awareness by Jacob Tamme.
Play action. Ryan on the slant to Julio Jones. Across midfield, Jones down to the 46 of Tampa Bay, gets 17. Bradley McDougald with the tackle.
And if you're a Tampa Bay fan, unfortunately, that's a sight that you've seen too much of in recent weeks. That's big wide receivers getting inside on slant routes and getting excellent yardage. Julio Jones get inside very easily. Ryan puts it on him early, and then the violent runner that Jones is allows him to gain additional yardage downfield.
A great start to the year for Julio Jones. A great start in this one. The first carry of the game for Freeman, gets a stiff arm, tries to turn the corner. Will get 2 yards and watch out. You never know who can come up and try to tackle you on the sideline, right?
That was some nice athleticism over there, man. He gets out of bounds right here. Little momentum. Up and over the bench. Near the garbage can. A side roll up and back onto the field.
I think he stuck the landing.
I got an 8-8 on that one.
You know, when a guy's a leading actor, they're supposed to have stuntmen, aren't they?
They are, Charles.
Tevin Coleman now in the backfield. 2nd down and 8. Play action. Ryan to Julio Jones again. And Julio Jones up to 23. Mike Jenkins there finally bringing him down. A 21-yard pickup.
And this is a matchup that Atlanta will like all day. Why? Because Julio Jones is one of the best receivers in the league. It's working against Mike Jenkins, who's had his troubles in recent weeks. Julio Jones gets him thinking it's a deeper route, breaks it back to the sideline, and terrific timing by Matt Ryan. That ball was gone and released to the point where Jones caught it before Jones came out of his break. Well thrown, well executed.
1st and 10 from the 23 for Atlanta. 2 tight ends in here for the Falcons. And now a timeout called by Matt Ryan. The Falcons marching down the field here on this opening drive. No score. Back after this.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide.
1st down from the 23 for Atlanta out of the timeout.
Heavy run formation, 3 tight ends in the game, yet they're going shotgun.
Empty backfield as well. Freeman split out wide. Ryan over the middle to one of his tight ends, Jacob Tamme. A 7-yard pickup. The red zone defense has not been good for the Buccaneers, and this was a focal point in the meetings with Atlanta. They said when they get in the red zone, they need touchdowns.
Yeah, they've kicked too many field goals lately. Last week, remember, only 10 points total for the ball game against Tennessee.
2nd down and 3. Freeman back in the backfield. And off to him. Freeman able to cut it back and spin up to the 15-yard line.
That defensive line for Tampa's doing a pretty nice job of going and streaming it down the line of scrimmage. Not really a lot of openings for Freeman to go and cut upfield.
Tony, I saw William Golston, number 92, work his guy all the way into the backfield, and I think that made Freeman have to break it a little bit wider, which helped prevent the big play.
3rd and 2. 2 tight ends in.
You also got a little thing here with Julio and Roddy working together.
And off. Freeman. And Freeman looks like he's going to have the yardage for that 1st down.
This feels like the Falcons did some self-scouting this week, doesn't it, guys? Because their tendency here, anything over 3rd and a yard, has been heavier pass than it has been run. Because remember last week, Tony, we were wondering, are they going to run the ball in these 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s? And they threw it almost exclusively. Today, a little bit longer than that, between 2 and 3, and they ran the ball inside to Freeman.
Yeah, they need to go and get him established. So far, they ran a lot of play action, but Devontae Freeman is not established yet, and that hasn't really had a great run. So, get a good one on that one. See if he gets the 1st down. We'll see.
A measurement here.
And they already know if they're going to go for it or not. Dan Quinn has it in his head about whether they would go, and I think that he'll go here. I don't think he's going to kick a field goal. I think he's going to go ahead and go. I think he knew on 3rd down, if they didn't get it and they didn't lose yardage, that he would go for it on 4th down.
4th and inches coming up. I got to be honest, when the run initially happened, you look at the 2 side judges coming in, it looked like he had the distance.
I was with you on that. I thought that he had it just a little bit short, but I wouldn't do a thing other than make sure Devontae Freeman touches it here, unless you're going to allow Matt Ryan to just fall forward on a quarterback sneak.
Yeah, I like that because that's always a threat, not underneath the center.
It's Matt Ryan keeping it.
Easy 1st down, guys. No way he doesn't have that.
And now a flag comes in late.
And you remember the emphasis about guys not getting in a pile and roughing up each other. Remember we talked about that in the seminar, guys, Tony?
Yeah.
Don't pull on other guys. They're trying to create that scrum
away.
done. Yes.
I think this one's going to be on Conti. Looked like he was getting a little aggressive there in that pile.
The result of the play is a first down for Atlanta. After the play was over, dead ball, personal foul, and necessary roughness by the defense. Number 23. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
That's exactly who it was on. You know, Matt Ryan's in that pile, and he just got to, you know, they already have a mark where the ball's going to be. Get out.
Good job on leverage by the Falcons offensive line, giving him enough room to get the first down. And then, Tony, you spotted it right away. Conti at the end, see him on top of Matt Ryan, actually giving him an extra shot. If you're going to get a pile upset, give the quarterback an extra shot, and that's exactly what happened there with Atlanta.
That's exactly.
So now it's 1st and goal from the 6 for the Falcons. The handoff to Freeman. And Freeman gets stuffed at the line, maybe even loses a yard.
And that was well played by the defensive front of Tampa Bay, guys. Tony, I didn't see any penetration there. I mean, in terms of Atlanta being able to create a crease.
Yeah, nothing. No, they're playing the run 100% on that. I'll tell you what, no one had Matt Ryan on the naked on the backside. I wonder if they come back with that in this next play.
2nd and goal.
That's a great point. And very quickly, last week, Kirk Cousins ran the zone read and dashed into the end zone for Washington. Does Matt Ryan have that in his arsenal today?
Opening drive of the game. Flag play to the end zone, and it's picked off. It's not going to make a difference. Quan Alexander with the interception, the return. Quan Alexander. Look at Julio Jones chasing down. And Julio Jones will bring him down and throw him down. But this one's going to come all the way back.
I know it's coming all the way back, but you're going to tell me that Dan Quinn is not going to have a major league kudos session for Julio Jones. That piece of tape right there will be clipped and shown over and over.
Absolutely.
Right, Tony?
Yeah, you never know. You don't know what they're calling. It could have been on, you know, the offensive side. You just got to go down there. You can't let him in. I love it. I love seeing Julio going down there.
And here he comes.
Look at example.
Remember how I called him Secretariat last week?
Offside.
Looks like Secretariat right there.
Defensive right end. Half the distance to the goal. Replay, 2nd down.
That's Jaquez Smith, the leading sack guy for Tampa, got off the mark a little bit early. And Matt Ryan knew it. You said it immediately, guys. Free play. So he tried to make a play in the end zone, knowing that he had that one in his hip pocket.
The penalties have been a problem for the Buccaneers so far this year. Already 2 now on this drive. 2nd down and goal, and Julio needs a breather.
The route that has hurt Tampa throughout this season, play action or quick slant. All right, so when I say play action, either fake the run and throw the slant or get the quick slant from a receiver outside. That's been the play that hurt him. That was the game winner last week. Jordan Reed of Washington getting inside on the slant for the game winner.
A long opening drive here for the Falcons. You saw Jameis Winston waiting to get on the field. 12th play of the drive coming up. Handoff. Freeman cutting it back, and Freeman will get maybe a yard. 3rd and goal. Bruce Carter with a stop.
I think they're committed to stopping that run, Charles, man.
That's
These linebackers are playing fast.
They have sold out on it. They are going right now, and we see 15 touchdown passes allowed through the 6 games so far for the Buccaneers defense. 2nd most in the league. They are on pace to give up 40, and the NFL record is 38 in a season. Got Julio Jones
to the corner.
3rd and goal from the 3. Ryan will throw this one off the crossbar. Intended for Roddy White. 4th and goal coming up, and that'll bring up Matt Bryant.
I know it appeared intended for Roddy White because it's a good call.
He was trying to throw it away.
You knew it too, didn't you? You were being nice to him, weren't you? That crossbar was the intended receiver. Because he had no play there, and he was not going to risk an interception and no points in the red zone here. So he was making sure he was getting that one away for no one to catch it. And the crossbar became his guy.
Nice pressure by that defensive line for Tampa Bay also.
A 21-yard field goal attempt here for Bryant. The long drive for the Atlanta Falcons results in just 3. The bend but don't break defense for the Bucs, and Jameis Winston will get his first attempt when we come back.
Game is sponsored by Bud Light. Make the right call. Drink responsibly.
A 14-play drive took 7 minutes, yet just 3 points for the Falcons.
And for Atlanta, you have to term this as a disappointment. They went for it on 4th down when they could have kicked the field goal. So that tells you 6 was all they had in mind, yet they still had to settle for 3. A big win for the Tampa Bay defense.
Matt Bosher to kick off. No chance for an attempt at a return for Bobby Rainey. Here in Atlanta, it's 3-0. The Falcons on top of the Buccaneers. Back after this.
Each game on Fox is sponsored by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram. And by DirecTV. Don't just watch TV, DirecTV.
3-0 here at the Georgia Dome. Falcons on top of the Buccaneers. Jameis Winston under center. First down. A handoff to Doug Martin up the middle. And Martin will get a couple of yards, set up 2nd down and 8. Jameis Winston, the #1 overall pick. He has certainly shown improvement, especially in his last couple of games. You see those 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Everyone says the difference with him is he's taking care of the football.
And that is so huge for him because he likes being known as a gunslinger. He loves that feel, but he also understands checking it down, taking care of the ball is how your offense continues to roll.
2nd down and 8. Luke Stalker in motion. A toss to Martin, cuts it back. And Doug Martin up to the 26, picks up 4. Time for our first game break. Let's go back to LA and check in with Mike Hill.
All right, Giants and Saints, how about a little trick and treat the day after Halloween? Saints with the flea flicker. Drew Brees to Willie Snead. 34-yard score. We are tied at 7 in the 2nd. Justin Charles, Tony, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Mike. Back here in Atlanta, it is 3-0.
Yeah, New York leading the all-time series by 3, but the Saints are awfully hot, aren't they?
They're playing some good football as of late. 3rd and 4 here for the Bucs on their opening drive. Winston forced out in the pocket. Winston still on his feet, able to get rid of it. Avoids the sack, but a 3-and-out force by this Atlanta defense. The pressure applied by Adrian Claiborne.
He's got some strength on his feet, Winston, doesn't he?
Okay, you know how we like to play the comparison game, Tony.
Yeah, let's hear it.
This is a big Ben play because of the way he just shook off Claiborne.
Offside. Defense, number 44, lined up in the neutral zone. That's a 5-yard penalty, results in a 1st down.
So they just gave one away, did Atlanta. They finally get the pressure they're looking for from a 4-man rush. They got him in. They got what they wanted, an incompletion. And look at Lovie Smith coaching him up from the sidelines. He's working on the head linesman there. That's Jim Howie. Tell him, look for it, look for it. He might be offsides the way he's lining up. Excellent coaching by Lovie Smith. Helped his team get a 1st down. Atlanta wasting an opportunity.
Basketball by Phil Jackson. On 1st and 10, handoff up the middle. There's Doug Martin. And Martin with a big run on 1st down all the way up to the 49-yard line, gets 18.
Watch the gap that he gets. This is really well blocked. Freeze right there. See how he was able to see it? He could have gone there, but he was able to see it to the outside. Terrific vision by Doug Martin. We talked about in the beginning of the game that he's rolled back the clock to 2012. Dirk Cutter, his offensive coordinator, when he met with him, said, Doug, we can get back to 2012. And Martin has worked awfully hard, and he's doing it.
His last 3 games, his numbers have gone up exponentially. Hitting the backfield, escapes that one, able to get positive yards again with that 2nd effort as he picks up 5. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. We've already called the name of Doug Martin a couple of times. The offensive line anchored by Logan Mankins, but how about Ali Marpet, the highest drafted player ever out of Division III? Mike Evans, he will shoulder that load as the receiving core without Vincent Jackson, without Lewis Murphy. 2nd down and 5 here for the Bucs. It's Martin again. And a good start to this one for Doug Martin as he gets 3 going up against this Atlanta defense. Up front, Vic Beasley Jr., the first-round pick this past year. Paul Warlow, a middle linebacker. He calls the shots for this defense, and Desmond Trufant, a very talented corner for the Falcons.
And interesting, the Falcons don't have a base defense in. They came in with their nickel package on 3rd and short here. They expect them to throw the football.
3rd and 2.
Let him go.
It's a handoff to Martin. Gets hit in the backfield by Adrian Claiborne. Claiborne just busted through.
Tony, do you play the run on your way back to the quarterback as a D lineman?
Exactly how you do it. Watch Claiborne turns his shoulders right here. Penetration in the backfield on short yardage. Listen, on your way to the quarterback, you happen to play the run. Scoops him up, gets his team off the field.
So a punt is forced. Jacob Shum will punt. Eric Weems back at his own 10. A good high punt. Fair catch signaled and made at the 12 by Weems. First quarter, 3:42 to go. The big play by Claiborne. It's 3-0 Falcons. 3-0 Falcons lead the Buccaneers. And the Falcons starting this drive from their own 12-yard line. On 1st down, Ryan will toss to Freeman, try to get outside. Turns the corner, but a hold will be called against Julio Jones.
Yeah, that wasn't even hidden at all by Julio Jones. He had a big handful of material, did not let him go even when he was running.
And that wasn't supposed to be a toss.
No.
That's a stretch play. He just didn't get there.
Holding. Offense. Number 11. 10-yard penalty. Replay 1st down.
Here's Julio.
Correction, that penalty is half the distance from the previous spot. Replay 1st down.
Yeah, he got every bit of him right there. He got Jonathan Banks, the corner.
I like afterwards he puts his hands up. What? What are you talking about, man? I didn't do nothing.
He was trying to sell it, but you notice Matt Ryan on that stretch play, for whatever reason, it went so wide, he couldn't quite get to the running back. That's why he had to give that little toss at the end of it. That's normally just a long, extended handoff.
So now 1st and 16 here for Atlanta. And there's the pass to Julio Jones on a slant. Julio breaks free. And Jones has it taken away. Quan Alexander ripped it away from him. Alexander back the other way is down at the 21-yard line.
What a heads-up play on Alexander's part.
And what do they say in Tampa? It's not a great defensive day unless you do what? Take the ball away. That's their #1 emphasis. They aim for 3 takeaways per game. And Quan Alexander, the rookie out of LSU, hustling on the entire play. Julio Jones gets the ball away from his body. Watch how it's extended. It's not tight to his body. See how he's running with it and it's out wide? Quan Alexander able to come in behind him and snatch it and turn it the other way. A big play for Tampa Bay to help out their offense.
A 20-yard return by Quan Alexander sets the Buccaneers up in great shape. We'll start this at the 21 of Atlanta.
Let's see if they go ahead and take a shot. Mike Evans hasn't gotten a pass directed to him yet. Let's see if they want to take a shot on 1st down on a momentum play and get it out wide to their big receiver.
The toss to Martin. Trying to bounce it outside. A good effort. Able to pick up a couple yards to the 19.
It's one of those coaching points. Watch how the ball gets away from the body. But, let me take that back a little bit. He was starting to put it into his body as he felt pressure. See, I just went in with it wide. But at the end, he has a little bit of room there. And Quan Alexander takes total advantage of it. And look how he turned around and did his Julio Jones imitation going the other way. Big time play by the rookie out of LSU.
Really was a huge play by Alexander. Negated that 35-yard pickup on the pass play. 2nd down and 8. Winston in the shotgun. Jameis to pass to the end zone. Incomplete. Was looking for Mike Evans.
And I think Mike Evans felt like he might have been held a little bit there by number 21, Robert Alford. Excuse me, Marcus Trufant. Excuse me, Desmond Trufant. Marcus Trufant, of course, terrific player with Seattle. See, right at the end there, see how Mike kind of turned around? It's either that or he just realized that was a shot that they had that they didn't complete.
3rd and 8. They're making some noise, hoping for just a field goal attempt. Winston throws high, incomplete.
And that was Adam Humphries, who they just brought back in from the practice squad. He made the team beginning of the year. He's going to have some space down here where he's open. So he gives a little stick nod move, but the ball is just too high. And I know that sometimes you wonder about timing when you don't have the receivers you've worked with very often. Humphries, Russell Shepard up this week, Dante Dye, not the normal receivers for Tampa. Timing might be a little off, even though Jameis Winston threw to them a lot. No TAs in minicamp.
Connor Barth, 38-yard field goal attempt. Able to tie this one up, but much like the Falcons earlier, this is a disappointing 3 points for the Bucs after a great strip by Alexander and the return. 3-3 here in Atlanta. 4 plays, they only moved the ball a yard, but it was a 38-yard field goal by Connor Barth to tie this game up. But disappointing for the Tampa Bay offense to get great field position at the 21 and only get 3 points.
And early in this game, we've got to give a lot of credit to both defenses. Tampa Bay held Atlanta to a field goal after a promising drive, took the ball away, and then Atlanta, after the turnover, they held Tampa to a field goal.
Eric Weems will take a knee this time. The Royals are 1 win away from their first championship in 30 years, and tonight is Game 5 as they send Edinson Volquez to the mound for an emotional return against Mets starter Matt Harvey. It should be an incredible night in New York. That all starts tonight after football, only on Fox.
Did they throw up the Matt Harvey signal in the sky for tonight? Is that what they did? And there's Dan Quinn. And guys, when you hire a defensive-minded coach first, many people ask you, how much time is that guy spending on offense? Does he just turn it totally over? Well, Kyle Shanahan's running the offense, but Dan Quinn has a hand in it. And you know how he helps best? By looking at his own offense through defensive coordinator's eyes. This is what you do. This is how we would defeat it. And I think he's helping them self-scout a little bit in terms of play calling by watching his offense as a coordinator.
On 1st down, the pass again to Julio Jones. He hangs on, picks up another 1st down. Up to the 37, Chris Conte with a tackle.
Guys, they've got to work on this in a big way, does Tampa, because Julio Jones continues to get inside and run these slant and inside patterns. And these are the routes that have been really hurting Tampa throughout the season. I don't know if it's the defensive back's leverage. I don't know what's going on with it, but they're getting inside pretty easily, and that's an easy throw for Matt Ryan to Julio Jones.
And that's 99 yards already for Julio Jones. On 1st down, the handoff to Freeman. And Freeman breaks a tackle. Up to the 43, time for a game break. Let's go back to LA and check in with Kurt Menefee.
All right, don't write off the Saints in the NFC South just yet. Taking on the Giants, Brandon Cooks from Drew Brees, 26 yards on the score. Brees 162 yards and 2 touchdowns already, and there's still a couple of minutes left in the first quarter. They're up 14-7. Justin?
A good day so far for Drew Brees and the Saints. 2nd down and 4 here for Atlanta. Under a minute to play in this first quarter. Ryan has some problems, gets rid of it to Freeman, who gets tripped up in the backfield by Mike Jenkins. A late flag, though, on the field.
I think that Matt got tripped coming away from the center. I think that his foot ended up hitting a lineman's foot, and it helped throw off the timing of the play.
Yeah, it looked like a bad snap, too.
Yeah, we saw him trip over his lineman in practice the other day. It's not a normal occurrence. It happens occasionally when a lineman's trying to pull or move. Watch on his getaway. Yeah, I believe Mike Person, his center, actually stepped on his foot.
Offense, number 83. Penalty is declined. Result of the play, It's third down.
And don't forget, Mike Person, the center, had never played center before until this year. So he's still learning that position.
And he's got a tough task because inside, you know who's over him a lot?
Mr. McCoy?
Gerald McCoy, 3-time Pro Bowler. So snapping the ball, trying to get into Gerald McCoy, making sure no errors with Matt Ryan. Mike Person's got a lot to deal with today.
3rd and 8 now for the Falcons. Gerard Ward is now into the backfield. Ryan stepping up. Throws, completes to the rookie Justin Hardy. And Hardy has the first down across midfield at the 49 of Tampa Bay. That is the first career catch for Justin Hardy. And that is a first down on the final play of this first quarter. 3-3 here in Atlanta. Fox NFL Sunday will continue after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Numbers from the first quarter, you'd think it'd be what, 14-0 Atlanta over Tampa Bay. Instead, that takeaway, and it's a 3-3 game as we start the second quarter. Tevin Coleman in the backfield for the Falcons. He takes the pitch. Coleman, he's got a burst of speed, and Coleman gets stood up nicely by Bradley McDougald. A pickup of 7, but how about the start for Julio Jones today?
He's figured in a little bit of everything today. The good, this was the non-interception where he chased him down and showed his team how to hustle. And then a rare bad for Julio Jones after a big play to begin with. Remember, he caught the pass on the slant. Looked like big yardage for Atlanta before Quan Alexander chased him down and took it away. 6 targets for him, 5 catches. He's been a busy man.
Second down and 3. And off again to Coleman. Coleman very close to that first down marker. Bruce Carter with a stop.
You know, in the break, Tony Siragusa was talking about one of the reasons Julio Jones is able to get inside on these slants is the vaunted Tampa 2 defense, meaning 2 corners rolled up, trying to play a little tight coverage within 5 yards of the receiver, and then 2 safeties deep. So essentially what you would have would be a corner out here, safety back here, allows that slant route inside. And that's what makes things easier for Julio Jones if he's not jammed at the line of scrimmage. And he's at the top right now.
There's a lot of pressure on that inside linebacker to get enough depth to go and cover the middle of the field on that.
Movement on the line. It looked like it was initially offside on Tampa Bay.
And I think how Atlanta's helping themselves with it, Tony, is that ball's out of Matt Ryan's hands quickly on like the 3rd step and gets it to him before he gets to the safeties.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense, number 90. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
So look in the middle of your line. Just look inside where the big linemen are. There's Henry Melton. Actually, it was William Golston who jumped first and got back, and then Melton came all across after that. And the penalty went against Melton. Former Chicago Bear, Dallas Cowboy. Henry Melton was a running back initially at the University of Texas.
That's one guy I don't think I would want running at me full speed.
First down after the penalty. They bring it back to Julio. And Jones up past the 30. Quan Alexander there with a tackle.
I know we're spending a lot of time talking about what Atlanta's doing or not doing on offense, but I think this Tampa Bay defense, they're giving up some yardage, but they rally to the ball pretty well. You know, this is a team that runs to the football well. They've got 1 takeaway already. They made Atlanta kick a field goal after a promising drive earlier in the game. Lovie Smith has taken over defensive play calling this year. They're playing with a passion today that they need.
Second down and 5. Hand off Freeman. And Freeman has the first down, gets tripped up at the 22, picks up 8. Devontae Freeman, who has been so good for the Falcons, especially the last 5 games, 578 yards over his last 5 games, 3 straight 100-yard games.
So this is going to be the 8th play of this drive for Atlanta. Devontae Freeman running the football now, trying to get him established. But this is what Tampa wants. They want to make them have long drives, make them earn everything in hopes a mistake will be made.
And off again to Freeman. And Freeman up to the 20. Will get 3. Tackled by Henry Melton. Devontae Freeman had the hamstring injury in camp. And since he has gotten healthy, boy, has he really gotten healthy. Leads the league in rushing heading into this game. But don't forget about what he can do out of the backfield as a receiver. 34 catches out of the backfield. One of the top targets for Matt Ryan this year.
Matt Ryan says that Devontae Freeman, and he says no hyperbole.
2nd and 7.
But to continue your point about him as a receiver, he says he runs routes and catches the ball as if he were a receiver. That's how much confidence he has in him on another nice play by the Tampa Bay defensive front, shutting down the run.
And I think the defenses know that too, because they don't have a linebacker on him when he's split out. There's a corner on him every single time.
And to what you guys have been talking about, Tony, I mean, you see the effort by Freeman, but this Tampa Bay defense is lining up to stop the run, and they're doing a good job. Teron Ward in at tailback on 3rd and 7. Ryan throws, completes the pass to his tight end, Jacob Tamme for the first down, down to the 6.
This is almost like a magic trick from Kyle Shanahan, because what you don't see are 3 receivers to the top of the screen, and on the short side or the nub side of the formation is Jacob Tamme running one-on-one into the secondary. And the confidence in Matt Ryan in Jacob Tamme grows with each game. He has become a primary target for him. I thought Kyle Shanahan did a nice job with scheme there. 3 receivers to the top of the screen. Tamme to the bottom. All your eyes and attention to the top. Come backside, get a big play.
1st and goal from the 6. It's Freeman. Devontae Freeman gets stuffed at the 5. At the 4, we'll pick up 2. 2nd and goal from the 4. Danny Lansana with the stop. And again, if you're Atlanta right now, you've got to capitalize and get a touchdown. They need touchdowns with these opportunities.
Tony, I would think hard here about flipping my formation, finding a way to get Julio Jones one-on-one somewhere, and run that hard slant inside and see if Tampa's ready for it.
And even Roddy White, you know, watching him from down here, he's wide open. I mean, they're really not paying him a lot of attention. He's the guy that you go to.
Low snap on the ground, still loose, turnover. Recovered by Jacques Smith. A costly turnover for the Falcons. A low snap by Mike Person. No one could come up with it, and there is Smith with it.
Today's game is sponsored by the Ford Transit, built Ford tough, and by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
All right, guys, let's take a look at that snap right there. You got Mike Person right there. He's going to go and feel right on his right-hand side, Shaquem Spence. When he takes that step, you see how low the ball went to the opposite direction. He was stepping to the right. The ball was on the ground. Matt couldn't really do anything with that. Luckily, some of the defensive guys saw it on the ground and tackled him before he was in the end zone the opposite direction.
So concerned about reaching the Spence, no elevation on the snap.
None at all.
After the turnover, play action for Winston. Able to find his main target, Mike Evans, for a first down. The Atlanta Falcons, their last 4 games, this is not Dan Quinn football.
But not from a coach who preaches the #1 mantra for his football team is what, guys? It's all about the ball.
Protecting the ball.
Take care of the football, take the football away. That's what he talks about. Lately, that has not been happening for his offense.
Charles Sims in the backfield. He takes the handoff. Sims trying to cut it back. He does. Gets a yard. Time for a game break. Let's check in with Kurt back in L.A.
All right, the Giants tied up the game against New Orleans. Odell Beckham Jr. from Eli Manning. But just seconds ago, Drew Brees and Marcus Colston hooked up for a 53-yard score, and the Saints have retaken the lead. Chris, Rondé.
Hey, who knew that a college football game would break out in New Orleans today?
It's a shootout there in New Orleans. It's a defensive battle here in Atlanta. Second down and 8. Winston facing the pressure, sets up the screen for Sims. And Sims slips, gets the first down. And he will be stopped at the 49-yard line. A 13-yard screen play for Charles Sims.
This is something that Tampa has done a nice job of in recent weeks. Screen passes, well set up. Look how Jameis Winston makes sure he invites everyone there. Look at the guys getting out in front, though. Excellent job. Joe Hawley, former center here in Atlanta, 68. 70 was Logan Mankins getting downfield. Look at Hawley coming in. Ali Marpet at the end, still pushing and grinding. That's what offensive line coaches love. They talk about screening at the beginning of a play, and then the extra screen to get additional yardage.
On first down, play action. Winston rolling out to his right from back across the field. Cameron Brate. One of the tight ends is there to make the catch down at the 23 of Atlanta. A 28-yard completion to Brate.
How about Dirk Cutter saying, okay, I see you, Kyle Shanahan, executing your stuff, okay? Let's see what we can do now, because over here, I think Brate's going to break back this way, all right? Winston goes one way, Brate comes back through the traffic, through the wash, and Winston turns around and finds him, and Brate just wants to make sure he secures the catch and gets big yardage, doesn't try and do anything fancy, and upend the play.
First and 10 now from the 23 of Atlanta. Handoff, Sims up the middle. Good run by Charles Sims. Justin Durant with a stop, a 7-yard carry for Sims.
It's not a bad 1-2 punch in Tampa right now, is it? Doug Martin comes in, and everything Doug does is hard. Hard running, right? Hard cuts. Charles Sims is a little more, I'm going to see it, all right? Let my eyes direct my legs a little bit, but once he gets it, then he goes. Very nice run there by Charles Sims. Known more for his pass catching ability.
2nd and 3. Hand off again to Sims. Little shimmy, able to make the cut. And he's close to that first down marker. It will be, well, let's see. It will be a first down. So Sims goes out. Doug Martin comes back in. On 1st and 10 from the 12. To Martin. Gets bottled up, tackled at the ankle. A loss of 1 is Grady Jarrett with a tackle. There is a player down on the ground now for Atlanta. It looks to be Tyson Jackson, number 94. 3-3 ball game, under 5 to go here in the first half. Back after this. Tyson Jackson, 7th-year player out of LSU, the player injured for Atlanta on that last play.
So they got Mike Evans in the slot now. Maybe use his size if they want to throw the ball.
2nd and 11. Winston throwing back in the end zone. Evans could not come down with it.
Tony, we had the right thought, and they were trying to use the size of Mike Evans, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. He ran right down the seam, right into me here. You watch him at the end of the route. Hey, whoa, whoa. What you doing there, kid?
I think Warlow, the linebacker, did a nice job by kind of walling him off a little bit and didn't allow him a lot of space to come down with the ball.
8 plays, 67 yards so far for the Bucs. On 3rd and 11, Winston with time throws, and that is complete, hauled in by Brandon Myers.
I'll tell you what, I liked what Winston's doing down here. He's really doing a nice job of looking off, moving the linebackers with his eyes, and went on that particular play with a nice frozen rope right to the tight end right there. A little conversation down here. I'm trying to pay attention to that also. A lot of stuff going on down here, guys.
You're multitasking,
yeah.
But Tony, you've seen a lot of rookie quarterbacks come and go. Would you say that the guys coming into the league now are better prepared because of the training they get coming up with the quarterback gurus and throwing the ball as much as they do now than before?
I'll tell you what, he definitely has presence in the pocket. You know, I'm not a guy who gives, rookies a lot of compliments. You really got to prove yourself to me, but I'm impressed right now what I'm seeing out of him.
23-yard field goal attempt here for Connor Barth to give the Bucs the lead, and he does it. He's 2 for 2. 6-3 again. Points off turnovers for the Buccaneers.
Today's game is sponsored by FanDuel, the leader in one-week fantasy football.
Back here in Atlanta, it is a 6-3 Buccaneers lead over the Falcons. Bend but don't break philosophies for both defenses here in the first half. Lovie Smith's team leads by 3. The rookie quarterback, Jameis Winston, doing a good job just managing the game. Eric Weems, he will take a knee. Doesn't want to, but he will. Here in Atlanta, the Falcons will try to come back down by 3. Justin Kutcher alongside Charles Davis. And Charles, we talked about this in the open. The Buccaneers coming off a heartbreaking loss, up 24 on the road at Washington. This was a big game for them, trying to recover. What have you seen so far? How have they recovered from that loss?
Somehow they managed to put it behind them, and it wasn't easy because normally you have what they call the 24-hour rule. Win or lose, then you let it go. I think this one lingered a lot longer than that.
A big run for Freeman. Devontae Freeman all the way up to the 40. His biggest run, a 20-yard run brought down by Chris Conte. Goose, I want to know from you, because what we were told by Lovie Smith is he said this loss, that may be what we talk about when we win the Super Bowl, a loss along the road. Is there one that sticks out for you in your playing career?
Turning point, yeah. In 95, 96, I was playing with the Colts, and we went up to Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game, and Ted Marchibroda was our head coach. We had so many opportunities in that game, but we lost the game, and that feeling sticks with you. A lot of people ask me what's the most memorable game, in your career, and that had to be. It was the loss. A lot of people think it would be the Super Bowl in 2000, but that loss really stuck with me and really affected, the rest of the years that I actually had in the NFL.
There is a flag on the field. Matt Ryan slow to get up here for the Falcons. Let's wait to see what the flag is going to be for.
Offside. Defense. Number 90 in the neutral zone at the snap. 5-yard penalty. Replay first down.
Looks like he actually gets hit in the head with a hand right there.
Yeah, George Johnson was bringing him down from behind, 94, and then Jaquez Smith, 56, over the top. Hit him upside the head, as they like to say, and luckily,
yeah, exactly.
Matty Ice is all right, and the Falcons end up getting 5 yards. So 1st and 5 for a play caller. This is your opportunity in good field position if you want to take a pretty good shot. It's a good spot for it.
Pump fake, handoff to Freeman. Freeman, beautiful spin move, trying to get outside, lowers that shoulder, and he gets the first down. Devontae Freeman, strong running by the 5'8", 205-pound back.
Now watch as he gets into the hole, because this is a chance for Tampa Bay to end this play right about, okay, he gets through it right about here. And Alteron Werner misses. Excellent spin move by Freeman. And then watch how he drops the shoulder at the end of the run to finish things. See him outside, working on number 27, Jonathan Bucs.
Ryan swings it out to him. Flags are thrown. Jackson, Devontae Freeman takes it up to the 41 to the 40. Well, let's see if this one's going back.
I think it's going to be. On the blocking on the play, I saw a lot of arms extended. When you see that, that's usually a hold.
Pass interference. Offense, number 80. 10-yard penalty. replay first down.
So on that one, that would have to be that he's blocking before the ball's gone. All right, he's blocking downfield already. Levine Toilolo. All right, number 80 right here. He's already into the block. Well, they could have got him for the block. A little bit of a hold there on number 24, Mike Jenkins. I thought I saw inside the same thing. So good job by the officials detecting something going wrong.
Coming up on the 2-minute warning, let's see if the Falcons will get a playoff before. Already in motion. And they will not. First and 20 coming up for the Falcons when we come back down by 3. Apps, videos, and more at itunes.com/NFL. 2 minutes to go here in this first half. Justin Kutcher, Charles Davis, Tony Siragusa here from the Georgia Dome. It is 6-3. Tampa Bay at 2-4, leading a 6-1 Atlanta Falcons. Second Coleman in the backfield. Julio Jones in motion. On first and 20. Ryan out to Coleman. Flag on the play as Coleman dives forward up to the 48.
Tampa Bay, over 10 penalties per ball.
Outside. Defense, number 27. 5-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
Free yardage, free play you're giving in a 2-minute situation with an offense is struggling a little bit. You know, this Atlanta team nearly put 50 points on Houston. And since that time, guys, they've declined in the number of points scored each game. This is a big drive for the Falcons going into the half for a team that preaches finishing halves very well. They need one here.
On first and 15, again it's out to Coleman. And Coleman able to get across the 45 to the 44. Tackled by Jonathan Banks. 10-yard pickup, 2nd and 5. Ryan barking out the play. Throws incomplete for Jacob Tammett. Alteron Werner there to knock it away.
And that's the Alteron Werner that Tampa signed from Tennessee. Pro Bowler in 2013. An absolute ball hawk. That's what I loved about him when he left UCLA. They have not seen enough of that in Tampa, making plays on the football. Excellent job there by Alteron Werner, who's shifted inside to become a nickel corner.
.131 to go here in the half. 3rd and 5. Ryan over the middle, picked off. Intercepted. Guess who? Quan Alexander. He had that straight fumble against Julio Jones. Now the interception.
And this is what made them famous. This is Lovie Smith's famous Tampa too, because watch Quan Alexander. He plays the middle, which is the running down the pipe, they call it. Right down the middle of the field. He sees the receiver and just turns and finds the football. He really didn't have to go that far down because the middle linebacker in the Tampa 2 will run that pipe right down the middle of the field all the way to the goalpost if need be. Didn't need to because of a shorter route. Quan Alexander reads it, gets his second big takeaway in the first half.
Second takeaway of this half, second interception of the season, the 3rd turnover of the half for the Falcons, and now it sets up for Tampa Bay. 3 timeouts remaining, 1:23 to go, and they get the ball at midfield. Hand off to Sims. Sims run out of bounds, pushed out by Robert Alford. Let's check in with Kurt Menefee. Kurt, what do you have at halftime?
Coming up on the Visa halftime, Big Ben makes his return against the undefeated Bengals. The Lions look lousy in London, and Keenan Allen looks to provide a bolt of energy to the Chargers offense. We'll see you at the half.
That's coming up momentarily. 1:17 to go. 2nd and 3 here for the Bucs. Winston throws high, completes the pass though. Enough for the first down to one of his tight ends, Brandon Myers.
Guys, defensive end number 94, Tyson Jackson, rib injury, is questionable on a return.
Thanks, Tony. As one of their guys up front they depend on. Talk about the Atlanta Falcons.
Winston again steps up, throws incomplete. Dante Dye, the intended receiver, maybe not on the same page there as far as when he was supposed to break.
Dante Dye, who's just become active in the last couple of weeks. He's number 17 out of Heidelberg, another Division III school, home of the Student Princes. And also in the area was Adam Humphries, number 11, who just got signed from the practice squad last week. Timing, as we talked about with new receivers, could be off a little bit for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Doesn't matter where you play. If you're good enough, they'll find you.
They will find you.
Right?
Yeah, if you run 4-3 something, they'll find you.
Second and 10. Winston in the pocket, pressured, and Jameis will go down. And now they're going to have to call a timeout. O'Brien Schofield with the sack brings us to a timeout. Under a minute to go here in the first half.
Check out the coverage here by the Falcons. 1-2, Desmond Trufant and Justin Durant. They've got coverage here. Can Jameis Winston find anyone? No, the coverage is tight. Now we go over here. 3-4. Now you got 1-2 again. Robert Alford, 23, playing the nickel. And Jalen Collins, number 32, on the outside. Beasley, 44, flushes him. He steps up right into O'Brien Schofield, 50, and Paul Warlow, 55. Just as Dan Quinn would draw it up.
And Dan Quinn is the one who called the timeout for the Falcons. They have one remaining. Tampa Bay still with all three. 3rd and 14. Winston takes the shot, finds Mike Evans. And Evans has the first down to the 20. A 21-yard pickup.
Mike Evans really helps you as a quarterback because of his catch radius. This ball really should be thrown to the other side of Mike Evans. Look how he throws it inside, yet he's still long enough and strong enough to go inside where the ball's about to be contested by the defensive back and make the catch.
And that leads to a timeout for the Buccaneers. And tomorrow on FS1, Colin welcomes special guest Donald Trump to the herd. The most controversial man in politics meets the most fearless voice in sports talk. The Herd with Colin Cowherd tomorrow at noon Eastern on FS1. And if you miss it live, we'll have the entire Trump interview tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern.
That the only guy Donald Trump won't go one-on-one with might be Mike Evans or possibly Julio Jones. That's about it.
1st and 10 from the 20, 2 timeouts remaining. Winston over the middle, caught, touchdown, Cameron Brates. More points off turnovers for the Buccaneers.
This was the full Monty, guys. Excellent protection by the offensive line. They'll perform it and let him throw it. But watch Jameis Winston just look off, as Tony talked about earlier, manipulate the secondary, and then come back to Cameron Brate with an excellent throw on an inside route. This young man, he may be a rookie, but I don't think pressure affects him a whole lot. He also bounces back after mistakes, but mistakes have been at a minimum over the last 3 games for Jameis Winston.
Connor Barth on for the extra point. That is good. All 13 points for Tampa Bay in this half have come off turnovers.
Look at the pocket there. Totally clean for him, but how about the throw? Inside route, gets it over secondary member there, Robinson Therese, 27, and in front of Desmond Trufant, 21, and Kamal Ishmael, number 37, Ricardo Allen. How about this throw? He doesn't mind trying to throw into tight windows. He doesn't care about situations. This kid, when the lights are on and the lights are brightest, I've said this about him for years, and it's playing out. That's what Jameis Winston responds.
You see 13 unanswered points for the Buccaneers, all on turnovers. Here are the turnovers. The first one, a brilliant play by Quan Alexander to strip Julio Jones. The bad snap, a fumble recovery, led to 3 more points, and this, the interception by Alexander, led to the touchdown pass to Cameron Brate.
And that last one by Matt Ryan was the most curious of all. It's not like he hasn't seen Tampa in a Tampa 2 before. For whatever reason, didn't read it as he normally does.
A touchback. Falcons will start at the 20 with 30 seconds to go. And I want to go back to something you had talked about before with Dante Dye, a guy out of Division III Heidelberg. You've got Ali Marpet, Division III out of Hobart. How about the guy just caught the ball, Cameron Brate, out of Harvard? They're finding these guys in places most people don't look.
And not only are you getting guys who are hungry, you're getting intelligent football players too. You're getting excellent academic schools, guys who want to play the game but can adapt to a lot of situations. Cameron Brate helping fill in and ease the blow with Austin Safarian-Jenkins out once again with a shoulder injury.
So just to confirm, you're saying Harvard's an excellent academic school?
Word is that they do pretty well academically. I can't say for sure since they would never let me in.
Julio Jones makes the catch here on first down. An 8-yard completion to Jones. Will that be the final play of a disappointing half for the Atlanta Falcons? Matt Ryan is walking off the field. It will be. The fans here in Georgia are booing their Falcons. That is the end of the first half. Tampa Bay leading 13-3. We now go to Kurt Menefee in LA for the Visa halftime, which starts right now. Today's excitement is brought to you by Nissan. Turnovers, the story in the first half. Quan Alexander, the strip fumble on Julio Jones. Matt Ryan picked off by Quan Alexander, which led to a touchdown for the Buccaneers, and they lead 13-3. That was today's excitement brought to you by Nissan. Justin Kutcher alongside Charles Davis back here in Atlanta. And Charles, a bit of a surprise. These turnovers by Atlanta, they've had opportunities in the red zone, but they can't capitalize.
And so we start with them because earlier this season, they were a high-scoring juggernaut on offense. But the last 3 or 4 games, we've seen a steady decline in scoring each time. And Matt Ryan talked about it's all in the details. They're not finishing drives. They're not picking up key third downs to keep drives alive. We've had a fumble earlier this game down near the goal line. Things of that nature. But let's not take away credit from Tampa Bay. This is a team that came into the game giving up 30 points per game. And guess what? On defense, they're controlling things as this game moves along.
Jameis Winston doing what he has done the last couple weeks, not turning the ball over. Atlanta will kick off to open up this third quarter. Matt Bosher will kick off. Bobby Rainey is back deep in his own end zone. Rainey lets this one go over him. Tampa Bay will start at the 20. Let's check in with Goose.
Gotta turn my mic on. Thanks, guys. It's a breath of fresh air to talk to 2 defensive head coaches. It's unbelievable. You know, Lovie Smith first, I asked him, Coach, last week 24-0 going into the second half. Do you mention that to your team, or do you give them a little bit of inspiration? He says, we don't even talk about that, Tone. Last week was last week. We're a new team. I'm going to tell my team, we're going into this game saying it's 0-0. We're going to attack the ball. We're going to go after it. Dan Quinn, on the other hand, he said, one thing I'm looking forward to, we're a team that finishes good. I expect to get that done. And exactly what I tell our team all week, attack the ball, go after it. We need turnovers. That's exactly what I said to them at halftime, and that's what they hear from me every day.
On first down, the handoff is to Doug Martin, who had that good opening drive, and then not much after that. Picks up a yard there. A look at the stats from the first half.
You see third downs, 50% for Atlanta, 1 of 4 for Tampa Bay. But the big one, of course, is the takeaways. 3 of those by Tampa Bay, 13 points as a result of that. Dan Quinn told Tony he wants takeaways from his team. They had 0 in the first half.
They had 0, but they gave it away 3 times. Second down and 9. Winston throws, high, tipped, incomplete. Ricardo Allen was closing.
And this will be another one that Dan Quinn and Richard Smith, the defensive coordinator, will talk about in tape when they review this game. Here's another opportunity. Look at 3 Falcons converge on the football to make a play on it. It goes in the air, and there's a 4th in the area, and no one comes up with the ball. It's okay to be close. It's okay to put pressure. But eventually, they need those takeaways. They have to make them happen.
3rd and 9. They're making noise here in the Georgia Dome. Winston Moving around the pocket, throws over the middle. That one skips. Incomplete, but a dangerous play by Jameis Winston. The pressure applied by O'Brien Schofield.
And this is where you see that he is a rookie. He does everything really well right up until the end when he throws the football. Feels the pressure, steps up, slides, keeps the play alive, his eyes downfield, but he tries to kind of throw it across his body back towards the middle, and it sails on him. And he's fortunate that it falls and hits the ground before Robinson Therese can pick it off.
Jacob Shum to punt. Eric Weems back at his own 27. A good high punt. Chance for a return. Here's Weems to 26. Weems returns it back to the 49-yard line. The tackle by the punter, Jacob Shum. For the Falcons, mistakes have been a problem the last couple of weeks. Last week on 4th and 1, that ball was intercepted in the end zone. A missed field goal by Matt Bryant. And then this week, the strip fumble against Julio Jones. The bad snap, a fumble. And of course, the interception. And all those turnovers have led to points here in this game.
2 of those by Quan Alexander, the exciting rookie middle linebacker for Tampa Bay.
On first down, Devontae Freeman gets tripped up, looks like maybe by his own man, Patrick DeMarco. An offense that you mentioned was so good early on, the last 6 quarters, the opposite.
And that tells you, look at the bottom, they're averaging 28 points per game, still 4th in the NFL. So what were they scoring before they went into this drought? That tells you how prolific they have been, but lately, they are not hitting on all cylinders. And this is a prime opportunity. Held them on defense. Excellent punt return by Weems, excellent field position. They need to turn it into something.
2nd down and 10. Ryan over the middle to his tight end, Levine Toilolo. He gets 8, sets up 3rd and 2. Levante David there with the tackle, and with all these turnovers and all these stops, we haven't called Levante David's name very often, and that's rare because this guy's a tackling machine.
Without a doubt, and this could be a play that he could figure in if you're Tampa Bay. Tony, their tendency for Atlanta, 3rd and 2, is to throw the ball.
I don't know.
I wonder if I would want to change that up a little bit and put it in the hands of Freeman and tell my guys up front, let's go get this first down.
Freeman just always has positive yardage. He's a great running back, but that's not what they've been doing lately. They won't be doing it here.
They swing it out to Freeman, instead makes the catch and gets the first down.
I like that play, though, Charles. Get him out on the edge, get him the ball, let him go and run in space.
You know, it felt like Kyle Shanahan said, you know something, guys? Let's not run our head into the brick wall, right? Let's just get him out, as you said, Tony, into space, get the ball in his hands. It goes as a pass play, but essentially it's a long handoff, isn't it? Get it to him, get him to the corner.
Moving those chains, 1st and 10 at the 37. Handoff, Freeman following his blocker beautifully. He was patient, waiting for his blocker to set up DeMarco, and picks up 7.
I love your description there, partner. Beautiful. The patience, right? Tony, take it, man.
I'll tell you what, he goes in the vision that he has. He sees penetration on the right-hand side. All of a sudden, his eyes go to the left, and he sees his fullback, gets right behind him. He's running so fast, he runs right out of his shoe and gets them positive yardage.
But you know, those thoroughbreds, even if they throw a shoe, they finish the race.
They do. They do.
Tevin Coleman comes in because his shoe is loose, so 2nd down and 3. Hand off to Coleman. And Tevin Coleman trying to push forward will pick up 2, setting up 3rd and 1. So again, 3rd and short. Let's see what they go to.
And this is, you know, we've seen Atlanta move the football today, right? But where do things start to bog down? Where does Tampa Bay really make it tough on you? As you approach the red zone. They've made it very difficult on them today. Had a fumble, key fumble deep. Forced them to kick a field goal early in the game. That bend but don't break philosophy. How many plays are you going to run? And the more that we make you run plays, the better our chances, says Tampa.
On 3rd and 1. Let's see. Play action. Ryan rolling out to his right, throws back over the middle, wide open is Tammy. And Jacob Tammy has the first down.
What a play by Matt Ryan, because he's got crossers coming here, but watch his ability to find. He doesn't stop it right there. See, he ended up having DeMarco in the flat. He didn't have him. Toilolo was coming across the middle. He didn't have him, and he went to his third guy, even with Jaquez Smith right in his grill, and able to complete it for a first down. Well done by Matt Ryan.
Yeah, threw right across his body too, which is not an easy throw at all.
On first down, another fumble. Another turnover in the red zone for the Falcons. This time it's recovered by Henry Melton. Unbelievable. The mesh with Ryan and Freeman results in a turnover.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By Burger King, introducing new Buffalo chicken fries, a better way to Buffalo. By Chevrolet, find new roads. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Atlanta looked like they were doing something different. Looked like a zone read run by Matt Ryan, but I think really what he wanted was Julio Jones in the slot on a pass. Watch. See how he shifts, and he's going up like he's going to take the ball back and throw the football. So they messed up on the mesh point. They don't run zone read very often. Not a strength of theirs. And there's Matt Ryan. We don't normally see that type of emotion and anger out of him, but we're seeing it now. It's been a very frustrating day, but one thing we have seen over years, he is nails in the fourth quarter.
After another turnover, first down. Look at Martin bouncing off a couple of guys and getting positive yards. Picks up 9 yards on first down. Paul Warlow with his second tackle of the day.
You know, when you get off to a 6-1 start, you have to rely on the things that got you there. And for Atlanta, they've come from behind a number of times to get to 6-1. They've been behind before. Now, as Matt Ryan and Kyle Shanahan try to figure out things on offense, Dan Quinn, Richard Smith, the defense coordinator, they're going to tell the defense, we're leaning on you guys, Hank. Keep us in there and see if our offense can get straightened out.
The toss to Martin. Cut back. Martin with a big run. Doug Martin, a flag comes in the backfield as Doug Martin takes it all the way up to the 48 of Atlanta.
Holding. Offense number 78. 10-yard penalty replay, first down.
How about the vision with these running backs? Okay, because it's supposed to go here, but watch where he cuts it back because he sees it. See that? And look at that vision right back into the gap that's open. Unfortunately, his right tackle, Gosder Cherilus, held on the play, and that'll bring it back. But the ability of Doug Martin of Tampa and Devontae Freeman to start a play wide and end up back inside where they see the hole and get there quickly, tremendous. That's why they're two of the top backs in the game today.
That's right. The patience. They set blocks up for their offensive linemen. The offense, both of these offensive linemen for both of these teams are playing really well today.
Second down and 11 would have been a 19-yard run for Doug Martin. Winston out of the pocket on the run, throws towards the sideline, completes the pass to Dante Dye. Let's go to LA, checking with Mike Hill for a game break.
Guys, Savon Austin, one of those guys you just call a weapon. He can do it all. 2-yard run on the in around, in for the end zone, second rushing touchdown of the season, and his 6th overall is 26 Rams over the Niners in the third.
Mike, he knows that play so well. That's the old jet sweep. That when he was at West Virginia in the Orange Bowl against Clemson, they dropped 70 out on that night. A big portion of it running those jet sweeps.
5 DBs in on 3rd and 6 for Tampa Bay. Winston throws back shoulder. We've got a flag. Mike Evans, the intended receiver. The coverage by Desmond Trufant.
But you get Mike Evans is 6'5", 230, and 6 foot 190 Desmond Trufant.
Pass interference. Defense, number 21. Automatic first down at the spot of the foul.
Trufant battles him as best he can, but you're talking about a difficult task
number 64,
to deal with a body and a frame with the length and size of Mike Evans. And Trufant was right there, past the 5-yard mark, hands still on him, into the chest of him. The officials got him. And people don't normally throw at Desmond Trufant. Giving up 4 catches today for 68 yards is unusual. He's gone games this year without anyone throwing in his area.
On first down, Winston taking the shot down the sideline. More contact, another flag. Coming over to take it out is Ricardo Allen.
I think it's going to be on Trufant again. Yeah, Trufant just put his hand on him right there. That's when they threw the flag.
And Trufant is down on the sideline.
And we're going to see what the call is.
Pass interference. Defense. Number 21. Automatic first down at the spot of the foul.
The only thing Dirk Cutter would have told Jameis Winston, and he'll tell him, turn it loose earlier, because Mike Evans had him beat down the sideline.
Desmond Trufant called for back-to-back pass interferences. He's on the sideline being looked at, but this is the big one, 39 yards when he's going up against Mike Evans.
And I thought that on this play, Jameis Winston took just a little bit too long to get rid of it because he has his big guy running down the sideline. See, he's past Desmond Trufant, but because he crow-hopped into it a couple of times, that allowed the safety, Ricardo Allen, to get involved in the play. The call was excellent. Trufant grabbed the shoulder pad of Mike Evans, so we saw that. But if he turns it loose a little quicker, he's got a chance for Evans to still run down the sideline.
So it's 1st and 10 with the ball at the 25 of Atlanta. And hand off to Martin. Gets spun around, will pick up a yard. Rashid Hageman with the tackle.
And now, with Desmond Trufant out of the game, I believe Phillip Adams has come into the game to play corner. He started the season as their nickel back, was replaced in that role by Robert Alford, and they moved Jalen Collins outside in the nickel package. Tony, where I come from, new guy comes in, I test him right away.
Right away.
And I see Mike Evans trotting out there right now.
Well, we know he hasn't had a lot of reps at corner, so.
Empty backfield here for Winston and the Bucs. Winston stepping up. He's going to keep it. Jameis Winston makes the guy miss and dives forward all the way down to the 2. A 22-yard run by Jameis Winston.
This is so beautiful because this is essentially a quarterback draw. Look what's open here. Everything, right? So watch Jameis Winston. He sees it. Okay, I'm gone. Now he knows he's past the line of scrimmage, but he does a ball fake anyway to try and hold the defensive backs in the secondary. That's just smart football. Every time they talk about his football IQ, we see more evidence of it with big plays like that.
1st and goal from the 2, but a timeout taken by Atlanta. They had too many men on the field. The Bucs are on the doorstep of the end zone, trying to go up big against Atlanta.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Cialis.
1st and goal from the 2 for the Bucs, leading by 10. Handoff, Martin, and he gets wrapped up in the backfield. Will lose a couple of yards, but let's go back to that big run by Jameis Winston.
This was not a quarterback draw call, but look at this. Look at where the tackles are. So this is open. Now watch the linebacker vacate out.
The whole middle of the field is wide open. This is a heads-up play. Just to go and take it right down the middle of the field. I mean, if you have an opportunity like that, Winston does a great job of identifying something and going and taking advantage of it.
He sets up this from the 2, and now it's backed up to the 4. On 2nd and goal, Winston, the lob for Evans, was battling against Robert Alford, and it's 3rd and goal.
And that's good coverage by Robert Alford. He's been moving inside to the nickel when they're playing that defense, but he plays outside corner regularly, and they're just trying to go size on him. They're trying to man up on him. With Evans over the top, and Alford doesn't let him get extended and gave him no space to go up and get the ball. Well covered.
3rd and goal from the 4 coming up. Remember, it seems like this whole game we've seen bend but don't break by these defenses.
And don't forget, Jameis Winston can get on the move now.
Dante dies in the backfield. Winston thought about a shovel pass, and Winston keeps it. Touchdown, Buccaneers. Jameis Winston, a couple of big runs on that drive.
As you described, partner, it looks like it's a pitch, but you know what it was supposed to be? Fake pitch to the wide side, bring it back, shovel pass to the inside. That gets swallowed up, and he had enough presence of mind to hold the football and go to where the hole's supposed to be. That's what they tell a quarterback. When you mishandle a snap and you can't get it to your back, go to where the play has been blocked, where it's been called, where it's designed. That's exactly what he did. He couldn't get it to the shovel guy, but he just followed where it was supposed to go and into the end zone.
I love his face afterwards, too. Just smiling. He's having fun out there.
Connor Barth for the extra point. 20-3. Trufant had a couple of big pass interferences on the drive. Winston a couple of big runs. And yeah, he is having fun. The Atlanta defense thinking, what is going on? Trailing now by the score of 20-3. Desmond Trufant is questionable on a return with a lower back injury. We saw Tyson Jackson go down earlier. The bend but don't break with the last couple of drives. They've broken a couple of touchdowns for the Buccaneers.
Remember, Tampa Bay came into this game averaging 34 points per game in their last 2 outings. Offense is really picking up.
Eric Weems will take a knee, a touchback, and the story of this game has been the turnovers. 4 of them for Atlanta. Now on Alexander with a couple.
That's a turnover there on the snap by Person, but the one by Quan Alexander, and that's a takeaway.
Yep. And then the fumble on the exchange leads to frustration for Matt Ryan. And you got to wonder what's going to happen with this Falcons team. How do they respond right now? You see the only team to win this year in the NFL with 4+ turnovers, the Eagles against the Giants. 1st and 10 from the 20. Play action. Ryan rolling out, dumps it off to his tight end, Jacob Tamme. And Tamme gets 4.
The only warning I would give, Tony, we've seen this guy a number of times now over the years about Matt Ryan.
I'll tell you what, if anybody
and he snaps it together, right?
Yeah.
And if you're Tampa, you cannot lose any intensity on defense, because Matt Ryan's numbers in the 4th quarter are really something special. But today, he's got to get to the 4th quarter to make that happen, because this Tampa defense is playing very, very well.
He's got a nickname for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, that Matty Ice thing is not just, just for marketing purposes.
Exactly.
On 2nd and 6, Ryan throws, finds an open receiver. And this time it's Eric Weems. And Weems with the forward progress up to the 35. It's not quite the Dugginator, but it's a good one.
Yeah, because Doug Martin does not want to be called that nickname that he got when he first came in anymore. That, the rodent one and strong, and he doesn't want that anymore. And he kind of coined his own nickname, but I don't know if it's going to catch on or not.
You can't do that.
You can't call your own.
No,
can't call your own shot.
Somebody's got to give you a nickname. You just can't go and say, "This is my new nickname." That should be illegal. It should be a penalty. Something.
If he keeps running the way he's running, he might earn it though.
Ryan again finds the tight end, Jacob Tamme, another 1st down. Now this is the situation, because Atlanta hasn't had a problem moving the ball down the field. The problem is turnovers.
Turnovers, and what's the word Atlanta preaches all the time? Finish. They're not able to finish. Tampa Bay's doing a nice job of shutting them down when they get into scoring situations.
Justin Kutcher, Charles Davis, Tony Siragusa, Mike Pereira for this one. The Bucs leading 20-3. About 4 minutes to go here in the 3rd quarter. Ryan finds Julio Jones on the slant. And Jones comes up about a yard shy, gets 9. Jude I.J. Barima with the tackle. Jameis Winston along the sideline. We've talked about it, but he is the leader of this team, which is remarkable to think about for a rookie playing in his 7th game.
I still go back to his freshman year at Florida State when he started against Clemson, and he was the one doing call and response in the locker room for the biggest game of the year, and all the veterans turning to him. He has that kind of charisma.
2nd and 1. Ryan forced out of the pocket, pumps a couple times, looking for someone, dumps it off to his fullback DeMarco. Another first down up to the 36.
Looks like he was a little hesitant throwing it to a fullback like most quarterbacks are, huh, guys?
Let's see where he wanted to go first.
It was his first option.
And he hasn't had very many passes aimed at him recently, but that's good coverage by Mike Jenkins, number 24. Then you go to the other side, and I.J. Barima with Roddy White, and he goes to make the play after he lets Roddy go when the ball's finally thrown. But Matt Ryan wanted to stand in there and take a lick and deliver the ball downfield.
On first down, Freeman hits the hole. Devontae Freeman. A good run by the second-year running back out of Florida State, gets 14.
This was well blocked. Watch to the left side. Levitre 67, 70 Jake Matthews, and see that gap? And he's able to get through it so fast that Henry Melton, number 90, can't get enough of him to bring him down. And then a good block downfield by Roddy White, number 84, on I.J. Barima, number 38.
And it looks like the center, Mike Person, is the player injured for Atlanta.
So that would mean James Stone would come in, and James Stone would be number 62. He filled in for him earlier this year when Person couldn't play against New Orleans.
Mike Person, the starting center, is out with the injury. So now James Stone comes in to play center for the Falcons. And Charles, he has struggled snapping the ball for this team. Ryan under center. Will hand off here to Freeman. And Freeman able to get 4, 2nd down and 6.
Yeah, under center is not really the problem. And James Stone is ambidextrous in terms of snapping. When Matt Ryan's under center, he will snap it with his right hand. When it's a gun snap, he's going to snap it with his left hand. He had a little bit of trouble doing that in New Orleans when he filled in for Person in their only loss of the season. You'll see now it's probably going to be a gun. I see a left hand on the football.
Ryan in the shotgun. Good snap there, 2nd and 6. The throw is complete to Justin Hardy. His second catch, gets up, makes the first down. And Goose, you mentioned this earlier, all the players have been asking Dan Quinn, is he going to play? That's how impressive he's been in practice.
Yeah, the defensive guys, they never give compliments to offensive guys, but when they went up to, when I talked to Dan Quinn before the game, and the defensive guys were saying, hey, he's going to get some reps, is he going to get some reps, is Justin going to get in there? And he said, then I knew that this guy was impressive.
The all-time FBS record holder for catches. And guess what? It's Hardy again. There is a flag in the backfield.
Personal foul, chop block, offense, number 24. It's a 15-yard penalty for the previous spot. Replay first down.
That's against Devontae Freeman on Henry Melton. Melton was slow to get up, not happy at all with Freeman.
Yeah, once he got up, he headed straight for Devontae Freeman. Tony gets a defensive lineman.
No.
Talk about this chop block and why he's so sensitive.
Well, the league is, in 1996, when I was playing, they tried to go and take this out inside the box. The guy cannot see. You're engaged with an offensive lineman. You cannot see backs coming out of the backfield. This is an injury. I mean, these are catastrophic injuries that can really career-ending. They should just completely take that out. Anything blocking below the waist should be taken out of this game for player safety if they're really concerned about it.
And the key, as you noted to me, is the engagement. If you're engaged up top and someone comes down below, that's where it's really a problem for a defensive lineman.
That's right, because your eyes are in the backfield and on the back.
The quick pass down the seam finds Jacob Tamme, and they were facing 1st and goal for 25. He gets 18 as Chris Conte brings him down.
With all the attention focused on Julio Jones, other people have to get involved, and Jacob Tamme's been doing that today for Atlanta. But again, we're in the same spot. Well-delivered throw by Matt Ryan, but this is a spot where things have bogged down all game long for Atlanta. Can they find a way to pay off another long drive?
Can they protect that ball also in this situation?
2nd and goal from the 7. It is Tamme again, and this time they capitalize. Touchdown Falcons. First touchdown of the year for Jacob Tamme. Comes on his 8th catch of the game.
Look how quickly things develop here. Here's Tammy as the tight end. Watch how fast Matt Ryan gets this out of his hands into Tammy. And he's sandwiched between Quan Alexander, 58, and then on the other side, another defender, I believe Alteron Werner, 21. And he grips it tightly for a touchdown for Atlanta.
I think Matt Ryan had a choice on that one. Justin Hardy was wide open on that one also.
Matt Bryant now on for the extra point. 20-10 with 15 seconds to go here in the third quarter. And don't forget, the Royals are one win away from their first World Series championship in 30 years. Tonight, Game 5, they send Edinson Volquez to the mound. Going to be an emotional return for him. The Mets will go the dark knight, Matt Harvey. It should be an incredible night in New York. It all starts after football, only on Fox. 15 seconds to go here in this third quarter. A 10-point lead for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Charles, you think about how do you respond. The question is for Jameis Winston now. We saw immediately after that touchdown, he went to his teammates and said, all right, let's go. We got it.
This is what he lives for. All right, you talk about bright lights. I've said this about Jameis Winston forever. If you watch him work out in shorts and a T-shirt, you may be impressed, you may not be impressed. You may not see the things you expect to see. But it's 11-on-11 game situation. You get the best of him. A natural leader, a guy who loves the spotlight and loves pressure situations. Well, he's in one now. Up with a lead. They blew one last week. Can they totally erase the demons of last week with a big victory in the division today? This is a big-time drive for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And that's such a great point because of what they had last week. That big lead, that 24-point lead, and they let it slip away. And how do they respond in this? They were up 20-3. Bosher to kick off. Rainey lets it go out of the end zone. And here is what Jameis Winston has done so far today. Able to find Cameron Brayton in the back of the end zone. Then he scrambles, runs for 21 yards. And this was a play that you said, hey, he realized what was in front of him. He'll take it to the end zone.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we keep talking about football IQ, sensing situations. That last one was supposed to be a shovel pass to Doug Martin. But Doug Martin got pushed so far into Jameis Winston, he realized I can't shovel it to him. So he kept the football to avoid the fumble and then barreled into the end zone.
On first down, play action. Winston rolling out, throws, finds Mike Evans, who loses the ball as he hits the ground, but they say it is a completed pass. That is the end of the third quarter. The score here is 20-10. Fox NFL Sunday will continue after these messages in a word from your local Fox station. Bobby Smith won his third of 3 straight football state titles at Big Sandy High School. You ready for these numbers? They scored 824 points, allowed 15 all season long. And they recently had a reunion. Lovey was emotional. He was so happy talking about it. Special thanks to Big Sandy High School and the Tyler Morning Telegraph for getting us those pictures. But what a team they had.
Big Sandy, Texas. Remember David Overstreet, one of the all-time greats out of Big Sandy. Went to Oklahoma and played in the NFL. The Miami Dolphins, a number 13 pick in the first round when he came out. And he chewed him up.
Atlanta is challenging the ruling on the previous play of a completed catch. We'll review the play.
So we're going to be checking out the process, right? Did he carry it all the way to the ground or not?
Today's game is sponsored by Visa Checkout, the easier way to pay online. Sign up now. By Hyundai, an official sponsor of the NFL. And by Subway. Come in for National Sandwich Day, Tuesday, November 3rd.
Here is the call by Ronald Torbert.
The Tampa Bay receiver did not complete the process of the catch before going to the ground and losing the ball. The ruling on the field has changed to an incomplete pass.
Let's bring in Mike Ball.
Second and 10.
Mike, that call
on the
was
20-yard line at the
know
opposite
these
end of the
days
field.
what constitutes a catch. So what did you see?
There are 9 seconds
Well, I'll tell you, it becomes easy when you're talking about a receiver going to the ground, which is what they're saying here, because he's hit before he became a runner. Therefore, he then has to hold the ball all the way through the process when he hits the ground, and the ball popped right out. So that's their first conclusion. Is he deemed to be going to the ground? Yes. And therefore, does he have to hold on to the ball? Yes. And that becomes then a clear reversal to an incompletion.
So, Mike, real quick, did you see that before they reversed? Is that what you would have thought, reverse this call?
Yeah, my whole issue, the hard part is he considered going to the ground? Once you say that he is considered going to the ground, then it becomes easier. The harder part to me is when he's not going to the ground, and then that time frame of how long you have to hold on to the ball to clearly become a runner. But going to the ground pretty much takes that away.
Mike, thank you very much. Always awesome having you with us and giving us these explanations. And by the way, that means there's 9 seconds left to go here in this third quarter. So it's 2nd down and 10 for the Bucs. And there's movement up front. Logan Mankins, the 6-time Pro Bowler.
False start. Offense, number 70, 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
And Tony, Tampa Bay's a team that blew a 24-point lead last week. If you're a defensive lineman for Atlanta, you just had a guy jump. Are you chirping about it a little bit to him, trying to get to him a little bit?
Listen, a coach could talk as much as he wants about we've left that in the past and we're not thinking about that, we're not talking about that. But let me tell you something, as a player, it's in the back of your head all the time. You're thinking, man, could this be the same situation as last week? Especially with a young quarterback, a young team, not a lot of confidence. You got to gain confidence over time. And we'll see what happens here, but Atlanta's really putting the pressure on.
I don't believe Tony ever talked trash.
No. He just plays.
One time I did.
2nd and 15. Listen to this place. Play action. Winston converts the pass to Brandon Myers. And guess what? Myers also gets another 1st down. So we already had our third quarter break, and now we get to stay here as the third quarter ends. We go back to last week. This is what you guys were talking about, a 24-0 lead. And then Washington storms back. The game-winning touchdown to Jordan Reed with 24 seconds left. And 31-30, Tampa Bay ends up losing that game. And Charles, as you just said, and Tony just said, what is the mental state right now for the Bucs? They had a 20-3 lead. It's now 20-10. They were just backed up a big 1st down conversion there, but it's got to be in the back of your mind, no?
Everyone's looking for a leader right now. Everyone's looking for the guy who's going to step forward and say, this won't happen again. I will guarantee you there's one guy who doesn't have to volunteer for that. That's number 3 for Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston. These are the situations that he lives for. This is what he wants. He watched it evaporate last week. He'll be the first guy to step forward and say, not this week. Did you see that last throw? Those are the kind of plays they need, because if he can make those types of plays, it'll settle down everyone else on the team.
This fourth quarter is now underway. 1st and 10 from the 32. Handoff to Doug Martin, trying to find something. He gets game tackled at the line of scrimmage. Second down and 9 coming up. Total yards advantage big time for Atlanta. But the takeaways and those points off turnovers advantage big time for Tampa Bay. Been like a fairy tale here for with all these turnovers.
Middle of the field's wide open for Winston again.
He steps up again. This time he passes the ball, throws it to Adam Humphries.
Not only is that an advantage when the defensive linemen are so wide and there's nobody in the middle for him to run, but it widens open, and you can see right downfield. It's like not having anything in front of you, whether it's a hand from a defensive lineman or a body that you have to throw over. It's almost like having 9-on-7 with no lineman in there. You don't want to have that. You always want somebody in front of the quarterback so you can go and getting his eyes to disrupt his downfield throw.
3rd and 4. They're 2 of 6 on 3rd downs today. Winston out of the pocket, flag on the far side of the field. The pass is dropped by Mike Evans. Let's wait to see what this flag is for.
I wonder if Mike Evans hurt his hand on that play, because he's gone to the bench kind of. He was keeping it by his side initially, his right hand. Or maybe he hurt himself running, because it might be
Offside.
Yeah, that's tough.
Right defensive end, lined up in the neutral zone. That 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
There's no way that should happen once in a game, let alone twice.
Let alone twice.
No.
And they said the right defensive end, correct? They didn't give a number on this one, so that's right here. And then Mike Evans, I thought it was a hand initially. I think maybe it's a leg injury, because he seemed to have a little hitch in his area. A little hitch in his giddy up going back to the sideline. But Atlanta gave them a first down, which means what? New set of downs, and the clock helps Tampa Bay with a 10-point lead. They get to burn more clock.
You can see Evans being stretched out, and it's not a turnover, but it's almost like a turnover right there.
You thought you were getting the football back.
Sims. Good containment by Atlanta's defense there.
Small thing, but Atlanta likes the fact that they took him over the sideline and the clock stops. I know there's plenty of time to go, and it seems like it's way too early to look at the clock, but those seconds add up one way or the other as the game goes down to its conclusion. And that's a play that Tampa would like to have the clock still running.
Nothing spectacular from Winston today, but no turnovers. 5 wide receivers in. 2nd down and 12.
Middle of the field open again. Look at the tackles, how wide they are. Nobody in the middle.
Pressure coming up the middle. And the pass over the middle is incomplete. Cameron breaks the intended receiver, O'Brien. Schofield applying that pressure up the middle.
Nice job with the stunts on the outside. You gave him a little bit of a decoy, thinking that he's going to have a wide open middle of the field. Linebackers come, they loop around right into his face. I don't care who the quarterback is. Whenever you're getting pressure right in your face, you get rid of the ball, or you take the sack.
O'Brien Schofield came from the outside, as you noted, Tony. Looked right up the middle and had a clear access, became a free runner to the quarterback.
He also came from Seattle as a free agent, where he played for Dan Quinn. On 3rd and 12, Winston dumps it off to Humphries, who gets wrapped up right away by Justin Durant. So the Atlanta defense does its job. They're going to force a punt.
Well, after a little bit of a hiccup there with giving them an extra set of downs, the Atlanta defense does its job and gets the ball back for their offense.
Jacob Shum on to punt. Eric Weems at the 10. Weems from the 17 gets wrapped up around the 15-yard line. Russell Shepard on special teams. Matt Ryan, can he live up to his nickname of Matty Ice? His team trails by 10. 12:07 to go here in this 4th quarter. Matt Ryan has completed his last 12 passes. On 1st down, Ryan dumps it off to Freeman. And Freeman gets hit by Alteron Werner. A pickup of 4 for Movember. Donate moteam.co/Fox-Sports.
I'm going with the Movember beard, guys.
That's not part of Movember. It's the mustache.
Do we get a stash?
I'm doing the whole thing. No facial hair. All facial, no shaving whatsoever.
All right.
On my face.
2nd down and 6. Ryan stepping up again to Freeman. And Freeman up to the 25. Sets up 3rd down and 2.
Guys, for this snap, as we head down the stretch, there's Lovie Smith, who has taken over defensive play calling this year. I think there's 2 goals he has right now. Number 1 is the normal goal, take the ball away. That's what every defensive coach preaches. But number 2, long drive. If you're going to drive it on us, long way. No explosive plays. Don't give up big chunks. Make them go 10, 12 plays if they're going to get it there.
3rd and 2. Ryan able to find Julio Jones, and he hang on. Julio Jones with a big-time catch on 3rd down, picks up 9.
That wouldn't have been a slant route, would it?
Yeah, pretty much that's all we got. You know,
look closest to you. See how he works inside against Jonathan Banks, and it's really not horrible coverage. Banks gets beat inside a little bit, but he really makes it a contested throw. They've got to just work on not getting beat inside to begin with. Make them throw it out wider.
His 4th game with 100+ yards, first since week 3, though. Roddy White gets into the action, and a flag comes in late in the first catch of the day for the all-time leader here in Atlanta, Roddy White.
Bad spot, though, for Atlanta, though. It came from behind the play.
Holding. Offense number 65. 10-yard penalty. Replay 1st down.
That's the right guard, Chris Chester. So just kidding, Roddy, you don't get the catch.
So Chris Chester right here, number 65, is the guy who's identified as, yeah, you see how he's got his arms outside, and now he's got the shoulder pads. Yeah, he's got a full set of cloth right there in both mitts.
Back it up now, 1st and 20, empty backfield. Little screen pass to Freeman. And Freeman nearly broke one big time. Ran into his own player, Andy Levitre. Time for a game break. Let's go out to L.A.
And time for another Drew Brees touchdown pass. This one 20 yards to Benjamin Watson. His 6th touchdown pass of the day. And they're just starting the 4th quarter. Remember, the NFL record is 7. Oh, Eli Manning has 4 as well. It's 42-28. Justin, Charles, and Tony.
Hey, if you're in the NFC South, you better take a good look at New Orleans right now. They're putting it together.
2nd down and 9. Ryan over the middle. Incomplete. Devontae Freeman, the intended receiver. 3rd and 9 coming up. Levante David was there.
Yeah, that was good coverage by Levante David. Watch at the end of the play what they call the moment of truth. When the ball gets there, it's in the hands of Devontae Freeman. A nice throw. But look how Levante David makes a play on the football and doesn't allow him to double clutch it and bring it to his body.
Yeah, those safeties in that cover 2, and even when they go cover 1, are creeping up because Atlanta really hasn't stretched the field. They haven't threatened the deep ball yet.
3rd and 9. Ryan pressure, dumps it all to Ron Ward. Ward spins, gets hit, and he's going to come up just shy of that 1st down marker.
And I don't think Tampa's going to like the spot. I think they believe he got more out of it than what they tackled. I think it's a good spot for Atlanta. Watch Ward at the end. Watch David. Gets hit, knocks it backwards.
You're looking at 4th and 1.
Now, the tendency has not been to run it inside, has it? Remember last time they just swung it out to Devontae Freeman on a short play, even though it looks like heavy run formation.
DeMarco splits out. Hand off to Freeman. Freeman dives, and he has the 1st down. Big-time conversion here in this 4th quarter for Devontae Freeman.
They broke tendency on this one, guys, because now they decide to run it inside. Well, not even inside. They decide to run it there. And Freeman powerfully finds just a small crease, drops the shoulder, and gets forward for the 1st down, a key one for Atlanta.
See, sometimes it's good to be 5'8".
Doesn't hurt, does it? Not on that play. 5'8", and furious in how you run it.
Explosive.
Ryan over the middle, Roddy White. And Roddy White's across the 40, down to the 37. There's his 1st catch of the day. A 19-yard pickup.
Watch Roddy White coming towards you. 84 in red, on the move, and where does he go? Slants it right inside, and the ball's delivered. I don't know how you guys feel, but Matt Ryan to me is in perfect rhythm right now. This is almost like 7-on-7 in practice where he's really accurate.
He has hit 17 of his last 18. Make it 18 of his last 19 as he completes the pass to Jacob Tamme.
And that play there, guys, remember the fumble on the exchange with he and Devontae Freeman? That was the play. You notice how he faked it inside out? Looks like a little zone read, pulls it immediately and gets it right to Tamme.
All Jameis Winston can do right now is watch. Mike Jenkins leaves the game, walks off gingerly. Second down and 1.
And with all the injuries Tampa's had, they've had to bring in Josh Shirley, number 91, who they just signed, as another pass rusher.
Inside handoff, Freeman. Devontae Freeman still on his feet as he gets tackled at the 12 by Chris Conti. A 16-yard run for Freeman.
Big block by Andy Levitre, number 67. Fake pass, delayed draw. Watch Levitre, 67 in front of you. Look how he clears space there. Person, 68, getting downfield. And then Freeman makes it work from there as he breaks a tackle.
Same play. Freeman again up the middle. To the 8, gets 4. Henry Melton with the tackle.
And Julio Jones just trotted onto the field. I would not be surprised at all to see them look in his direction to try and get the shot for the bell ringer.
He's looking that way. Comes back to Freeman, and Freeman gets upended, loses the ball. It looks like he still has it. Let's see.
They're saying he was down.
They are really in some kind of rhythm, aren't they? Offensively, Atlanta. If this were basketball, you'd be thinking timeout to try and break their rhythm.
3rd and 1. Freeman flag in the backfield, and Freeman's going to lose a bunch of yards. Josh Shirley finally brings him down, but Freeman went down awkwardly.
Holding. Offense number 68, 10-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
That's against the center, Mike Person.
Did you see how fast? Wasn't it Akeem Spence, 97, who was in the backfield, essentially on the handoff? Take a look in the middle, where Person is, right? Let's look in this area here and see who gets there that fast.
And remember, it was Spence before, which caused the bad snap by Person.
And that's why the hold was there, because he was out of his stance and into the backfield so quickly. Person was just flailing to try and get him before he got there.
So it's 3rd and 11 now after the penalty. 10 penalties for 113 yards on the day for the Falcons. Now, if you're looking at game management here, for Atlanta, they just need points.
Yes.
Whether it's 3 points or 7 points to give themselves a real shot.
Yeah, so if they don't get anything here, they don't have to force anything. They can kick the field goal with Matt Bryant.
Tampa Bay has elected to decline the holding foul. The result of the play is 4th down.
So they want to force a decision on them right now. Do you want to go for it or kick it?
Personally, I kick it. Get those points.
Get the points and come back and tell your defense we have to have the ball again anyway. It really doesn't matter.
This is what Dan Quinn will do. Sends out Matt Bryant. Bryant hit from 21 earlier.
Are they just discussing exactly where the ball should be placed?
Yes. I can almost hear him talking.
Well, It should actually be moved back because that play resulted in a loss on the run. So it shouldn't be where they have the ball right now. You should back it up at least 3 or 4 yards.
I think they heard you, Justin.
There's Spence making the play, and then the posse gets there. Josh Shirley, 91, helped finish him off, so it should be back there around the 6, correct?
And it will be. So now you're looking at a 24-yard field goal attempt for Bryant to make it a one-score game. And Bryant drills it right through the uprights. 20-13. We've got an exciting finish for you here in Atlanta.
Today's game is sponsored by McDonald's, teaming up with the NFL like never before.
Things are moving fast here in Atlanta. They're trying to get back to the game. It's a close one now. It's 20-13. The Buccaneers lead the Falcons with 4:56 to go here in this fourth quarter. Matt Bosher will kick off to Bobby Rainey back deep. And Rainey will get a chance to return if he wants. He does not want to. He'll take a knee instead. Jameis Winston leading by 7, back on the field when we come back. In college at Florida State, here now with the Bucs. He is a guy who is a constant cheerleader, Jameis Winston. That was the last kickoff. You thought maybe my guy has a chance to return. Okay, no, let's take the field. Really strong first half. Nothing much here in the second half for Winston. On first down. The handoff is to Martin, who literally climbs over a couple of guys to get 5 yards.
This is the biggest drive of Jameis Winston's young career. And there's Desmond Trufant, the #1 cover guy for Atlanta, not in the ball game. At a minimum, the Tampa offense is trying to get at least 2 first downs to help flip field position and try and make it long for Matty Ice and the Atlanta offense. At a minimum, that's the goal for the Buccaneers.
Second down and 5. Handoff again. Martin bouncing around, and he gets corralled in the backfield by Tyson Jackson, who was injured earlier, a loss of 1.
That play was made by Paul Soli, I saw, Tony. Being able to get inside and stack things up.
Stand everybody up right in the middle. Those defensive linemen are doing a great job of going and building a wall in there. The linebackers coming and cleaning up.
3rd and 6. Can this Atlanta defense get the ball back for their offense? Humphries in motion. Winston trying to get rid of it. He does in time to Martin, and Martin has enough for the first down. What a play right there to stay up and stay alive and find his running back.
He threatens the middle right there on a little bit of a run, and everybody bites on it, and then he just dumps it right over the middle, Charles.
It's the second time we've seen today that I remember strength comes into play.
And that is a Ben Roethlisberger type play.
He's like a big oak tree that handles the hits, still delivers. On the first one, it was an incomplete pass in the first half, but it prevented a sack. This one, a huge first down for the Buccaneers.
Huge third down conversion. More time coming off the clock. Handoff to Martin. Dancing around. Good run up the middle. Gets 6. Time for a game break. Let's go to LA and check in with Mike Hill.
You guys like your rookie, Jameis Winston. How about this rookie, Stephon Diggs? His team down by 7 late. Teddy Bridgewater finds him, and the rookie does the rest. 40 yards for the score. Tying the score up at 20 apiece. Stephon gets into the end zone, and you know how he celebrates. Stephon, yeah, he digs. Once again, 2020, late in the fourth. Justin, Charles, back to you.
Hey, Mike, you know our parents would have said, can you dig it?
Yes, sir.
Well, those two guys were college football stars, and the best college football game in America this Thursday is on FS1. As the second-ranked Baylor Bears take their high-powered offense against K-State. The only place to see all the action is Thursday night on FS1.
And a true freshman quarterback now going for Baylor, and Jarrett Stidham, one of the top-ranked guys coming into school this year, and you know it's been plug and play for Art Briles and Baylor. They'll get tested by Bill Snyder and those Wildcats.
One timeout remaining for Atlanta after calling that timeout. 2nd down and 4 for Tampa Bay. You got to think they're going to keep it on the ground here with Doug Martin. It is Martin again, trying to push that pile forward as Martin gets to the 40. Another timeout, the final timeout called by Dan Quinn. And you're looking at a 3rd and 1 coming up in pretty much the ball game.
There's Lovie Smith watching the maturation of not just a young quarterback. How about an offensive line continuing to come together? You've mentioned it during the game, Justin. Ali Marpet, rookie, right guard, number 74. Donovan Smith, rookie left tackle from Penn State, who's had to deal with all the pass rushers, and we really haven't had anyone defeat him today in terms of that, where we've had that much pressure. They've done a nice job. And then, of course, the veteran Logan Mankins, Gosder Cherilus. This offensive line's coming together for a huge, huge play for everyone on this snap.
3rd and 1. Hand off to Martin, trying to dive, go over the top. He's short. They stuffed him.
Dan Quinn and Richard Smith just sold out on this one and said, we're going to take the chance. If they don't go out the back door with Jameis Winston on a bootleg, they're going to try and run it. They win the battle at the line of scrimmage. Notice how the line of scrimmage changed. See that, Tony? They just went from where it was at the 40 and moved the line of scrimmage back. Atlanta's defensive front won that battle.
That's what they teach on that short yardage and goal line, is get penetration, get a surge, and let the back guys, linebackers behind you, come and clean it up.
Paul Soliai is a player down right now for the Falcons. The 9th-year player out of Utah. Good to see him now moving around on the ground. 2:13 to go. We've got a timeout here. 7-point game. 4th down coming up for Tampa Bay. 2:13 to go. 4th and 1 coming up. Charles, we've seen Jameis Winston go back out. A couple of options here now for Tampa Bay. Do you try to draw them off sides or run the clock down to the 2-minute warning?
I think both, frankly. I think you try and draw them off sides, get something cheap, keep possession. But worst case, you get it down to the 2-minute warning, punt the ball away and rely on your defense. But I will say this. Last week at Washington, the defense gave it up for Tampa Bay. Somewhere in Lovie Smith's mind, he's thinking, God, do I want to just go for it and keep it in the hands of my offense? I just don't think he can afford to.
Well, there is the clock down to the 2-minute warning. Decision time. When we come back, what will Lovie Smith and the Bucs do? 4th and 1. Hang on, hang on. There was a timeout taken first by Tampa Bay. So a timeout taken there, and
hold a second.
Yeah,
they were running a play.
Yes,
and it wasn't.
And he was throwing the ball.
Yeah, it wasn't a downhill run either.
That was something, guys.
You surprised me on that one. You got me on
look
that
at the game summary. Tampa Bay 20 points off of 4 takeaways. Matt Ryan has been amazing in the second half in terms of rhythm. But let's go back to that, because we've molded over in the break. I think that maybe Lovie Smith was saying over the last 3 or 4 weeks, my offense has been good and my defense hasn't been, even though they've been pretty darn good today. Maybe I want to leave it in the hands of my offense. We're 2 and 4. Let's go make a play and not just give it up.
4th and 1. What are they going to do? They are going to run a play. Jameis going to try to run for it. Dives forward. Let's see where the spot is. It is going to be so close.
They were running it inside from the first down marker from where I'm looking, but it's going to be close about where they put the ball, and will it have enough to get there? He gave it every effort to get there.
I don't think it's enough, guys.
I don't think so either. Looking at it right now on the screen, they're going to come out and obviously measure. But I think what you're going to look at right now is 1:52 to go. No timeouts remaining for Atlanta, and they have to go 41 yards.
And listen, guys, I know that everybody's going to go crazy back in Tampa about why go for it here, blah, blah. Remember this, Atlanta still has to score a touchdown. It's not just field goal range they're giving up. Okay, they still have to score a touchdown and kick the extra point to try and get overtime. And this is a Tampa team that lost last week with their defense on the field, and they drove it, 80, 90 yards to get the go-ahead touchdown. I think Lovie Smith said, I want to show confidence in my team and try and get something done. He'll get roasted, but I kind of like where he was going with that one. He wants to try something different. Let's not just do it the same way we've done it before.
I do too, and give credit to Ricardo Allen because it looked like he knocked that ball loose from Jameis Winston. Therefore, Winston couldn't stretch out and try to get that first down. So here is Atlanta. No timeouts, 1:52 to go. Matt Ryan steps up, open middle, finds Julio Jones. And that is the 10th catch of the day for Jones, gets 5.
Remember, no timeouts for Atlanta.
And they need a touchdown. Ryan over the middle to his tight end, Jacob Tamme, who's had a monster game. 19-yard completion. The question earlier today from Goose was, who would be that guy to step up, that third option? You knew you had Freeman, you knew you had Jones. Well, it's Jacob Tamme, who's 10 catches, 103 yards. Ryan, low throw, unable to be caught by Devontae Freeman. That stops the clock at 104.
And that's actually okay for Atlanta, and for this reason. Gives them a chance to take a deep breath and settle a little bit. Mike Person had to play the last play hurt because they couldn't get James Stone out there in time. That allowed them to make the substitution now, take a deep breath, get in the huddle, get the right call in.
This Tampa Bay team has had a lot of close calls. They lost by 14 against Carolina, 5 turnovers. 24-0 lead on the road at Washington last week. They lose. Here they led 23, and now it's 20-13. Ryan on second down. Escapes the pressure, throws, and completes the pass to Freeman. First and goal from the 3. 50 seconds to go.
Nice job by Matt Ryan extending the play, getting out of the pocket, and finding an open man.
And there was movement on the line.
Looked like Levitri, number 67, jumped early for Atlanta.
False start. Offense, number 67, 5-yard penalty, replay first down. This false start happened within the last minute with the clock running. Therefore, we'll run 10 seconds. Please set the game clock to 26 seconds. The clock will start on my ready for play signal.
A costly penalty right there. And now you're looking at first and goal from the 8.
Look how the safety's over here keeping an eye on Julio Jones.
Ryan, pump fake to the end zone. Jones, touchdown! Eight-yard touchdown pass to Julio Jones.
See, right here, the safety is supposed to be over the top. But when Matt Ryan made his move and pump faked, he left the deep zone and left Jonathan Banks on his own. And Matt Ryan on the pump fake, able to come back and find Julio Jones. And you see Jonathan Banks looking for his partner, saying, you left me in my time of need. Big time drive, Atlanta with a chance to tie it.
And now it's Matt Bryant to tie it up. We're tied. Matt Ryan lives up to his nickname.
Matt Ryan creates the time and pulls the safety away. See that pump fake to Devontae Freeman? That pulled up Chris Conte, the safety, who really should have stayed deep and stayed over the top of Julio Jones. That's your number one threat. This is like watching the movie Top Gun. You never, ever, ever leave your wingman.
There you go.
It's a lesson for life.
Now, one thing this Tampa team has to remember, it's a tie game. This game isn't over yet. Now, right now, they're flat as could be on that sideline, and Atlanta has all the momentum, but they got to rally the troops and get back in this thing.
And I've said it before, I'm going to stay with it, and this last time I'm going to say it. I know Lovie Smith's going to catch a whole lot of heat for going for it where he did. But you have to remember, this is a team that didn't work that way before. Right. This is a team that had a devastating loss, and he's trying to find a way to show confidence in his team, and his offense has carried him over the last couple of weeks. We can second guess everything all the time. He's trying to do something different to shake up his team.
Positive, absolutely.
Not a graphic that Lovie Smith and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers want to see. But that 24-point lead last week, 17-point lead today, tied up with 17 seconds to go here in Atlanta. Bosher to kick off. Tampa Bay will have the ball at the 20. Let's go to LA for a game break. Here's Mike Hill.
Man, with all the offense going on in New Orleans, can you believe the defense gave the Giants the lead? Willie Snead with the fumble. Tremaine McBride gets it, goes 63 yards for the return on the score. A wild one in New Orleans. Giants on top by 7 midway through the fourth.
Mike Hill. It was 42-21. Can you warn a brother next time that kind of rally's going on?
That's unbelievable. A lot of weapons on that Giants team.
Well, now you got to think that Jameis Winston will take it to overtime. Let's get to overtime.
Let it go.
That is what we're going to do. Matt Ryan, the leader of this team, 15 straight games with at least 250 passing yards. So as we go to overtime, a refresher on the rules. The coin toss obviously determines the possession. Both teams have the opportunity to possess the ball unless that initial possession is a touchdown or a safety. Well, you guys can read. Yep. You know what this says.
15 minutes to settle it. And that's the thing, because we have had a tie already this year in the NFL. So it's not a matter of, this is not, going until it's over. And it's not the sudden death that we knew growing up, where one score doesn't kick the field goal and you get out.
As a player,
defensive score though.
As a player, for you two guys, what do you want?
We will play one overtime period of up to 15 minutes. Each team will have an opportunity to possess the ball unless the team that first gains possession scores a touchdown or there's a defensive score. If the score is tied at the end of the 15-minute period, the game will be declared a tie. Fourth quarter timing rules are in effect. Each team will have 2 timeouts. All replays are from the replay booth. Any questions? Tampa Bay, you're going to call the coin toss. What's your call? Tails. Tails is the call. Tails is the call. It is tails. Tampa wants the ball. Which way you want to kick?
That body language from Joe McCoy is not what you want to see if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Julio Jones, the touchdown late in the fourth quarter, the extra point tied. Overtime is coming up. Jameis Winston, the first half belonged to him. The second half has belonged to Matt Ryan and the Falcons. These overtime facts this season in the NFL. Well, the home team 6-3, the coin toss 4-5. Tampa Bay won the toss. They have elected to receive. Bobby Rainey again. It'll be a touchback. And so the Buccaneers will have it at the 20. The game summary, well, the first half, it was turnovers, right? All those turnovers by the Falcons led to points. 20 points off the 4 takeaways. But then for the Buccaneers, you didn't think you could have a game like last week, and all of a sudden you blow a 17-point lead this week.
And you remember what they told us. It felt almost like death.
Yeah.
And you were in a period of mourning. Normally you get 24 hours to shake it off. Lovie Smith said it took him until Tuesday. Normally it's Monday. Levante David told us it took until Wednesday. and they'd have a spirited practice to try and get it out of them. Tony talked about it earlier. It's in the back of your mind until you erase it. Now it's back front and center to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Justin Kutcher, Charles Davis, Tony Siragusa, Mike Pereira. Overtime here in Atlanta. On first down, Winston tries to swing it out, incomplete to Luke Stalker. The first time today that he has looked to that tight end, Stalker, the fifth-year player of Tennessee.
Don't make things harder for yourself than they already are. Make the plays you need to make. Simple pitch and catch. Luke Stalker doesn't look it in. Ball bounces off his hands. He's had 3 catches for the season. All of them came last week at Washington.
Somebody's got to make a big play here for Tampa.
Empty backfield. Charles Sims is in. Watch out for him as a receiver. Winston over the middle, almost intercepted, in and out of the hands of Robinson Therese, and flags in the backfield.
Looks like the offensive lineman jumped before the ball was snapped, guys.
But watch Babineau drop out, Tony, so he can cover the middle now. Remember?
There are fouls by both teams on the play. Off holding, offense number 78. Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 50 with a hit to the quarterback's knees. Those fouls offset. We'll replay second down.
And boy, is Tampa fortunate to get the offsetting penalties and get the down back. And O'Brien Schofield down on the legs of Jameis Winston. And that would have nullified an interception if Robinson Therese had been able to come up with it.
After all that, it's still 2nd and 10. Winston moving around in the pocket, dumps it off to Sims. And Charles Sims able to push forward to the 27, gets 7, and sets up 3rd and 3. Dirk Cutter calling these plays. Lovie Smith, he's the one who said, let's go for it on 4th and 1 in that 4th quarter, late with 2 minutes to go. Matt Ryan wants a chance to get the ball back. On 3rd and 3, Winston dumps it out to Sims, and Sims able to get forward through the tackle of Phillip Adams and pick up the first down.
Number one thing that would attract people to Charles Sims coming out of college is this, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, and how about his having a nice understanding.
As an eligible receiver. 64 is eligible.
And a nice understanding where the first down marker was. And Ronald Torbert, remember the eligible receiver reporting in? He missed that in the last game he worked. He hasn't missed it at all today. Just reported it now.
And remember, Phillip Adams is playing because Desmond Trufant is not. Play action. Taking the shot down the sideline, and this one is incomplete for Mike Evans. The coverage there by Adams.
I like the shot taken, though. I do, because you have to make plays now if you're Tampa. Everyone's tight. Everyone's wondering, are we going to blow another lead? Go out and try and make a play. And Phillip Adams does exactly that for Atlanta. I thought he was into him before the ball got there personally. But he was able to get away with that one, and no flag thrown.
Yeah, the ball was just underthrown. If he would have overthrew him, he would have had a chance to go and make a huge play on that one.
The defense in some confusion right now. Winston snaps it, and that's a drop ball by Evans. Got hit hard by Adams. And 3rd and 10 coming up now for the Bucs.
And look at Atlanta trying to decide which unit they want in. Fortunate they didn't end up with too many men on the field.
And again, now it's Nate Stupar who's leaving the field late. 4 of 10 on 3rd downs for Tampa Bay today. Pressure coming. Winston completes another third down. This pass to Mike Evans.
We've had a few drops from Evans today, but in the key situation, Jameis Winston goes right back to him after his latest drop and puts it right on the 1 and 3 that Evans has on his jersey. Well thrown football in a pressure situation. Therese tries to make a play, but Evans with a monster first down for Tampa.
3 catches, 48 yards. Again, matched up against Adams as opposed to Trufant because Trufant left the game with a lower back injury. On first down, the handoff to Sims up the middle. Hit first by Paul Warlow. Gets 4 yards, second down and 6. Connor Barth, the place kicker, 2 for 2 today, 38 and 23.
And they're hoping they're not using it because a touchdown wins it for them. If they kick a field goal, Atlanta gets a possession.
Second and 6. Martin gets his first carry of overtime. And he's got another first down up to the 40.
Boy, was this well blocked up front.
Beautiful.
Watch the right side here. Marpet is 74. Sherrillis is 78. 68 is Hawley, the former Falcon. He was able to get out on the linebacker and occupy him, Stupar, so he couldn't fall off and make the tackle. Gaping hole for Doug Martin to race through.
Matt Ryan, all he can do right now is watch and hope. It's Martin again. Looking to make a couple of guys miss. That is a heck of a run by Doug Martin to pick up 5 yards.
I thought he was going to get stopped in the backfield on this one. He actually stopped his feet. But poor tackling by Atlanta. I mean, you got to wrap this guy up.
Hageman missed first, 77. Ishmael, 36. Missed in the open field right there. And he got way more out of that play than he should have.
You got to give credit to that offensive line staying on their blocks, though, driving guys backwards.
Second and 6. Martin again. Nowhere to go this time. Ishmael doesn't miss the tackle. Connor Barth, his career-long 57 yards back in 2012. 2 for 2 today, 38 and 23. This drive, 10 plays, 45 yards for the Buccaneers. 3rd and 5 coming up. Already a couple of third down conversions on this drive. Charles Sims had one. The other was Mike Evans.
Good thing they called a timeout. They had receivers out there, a couple of them, nobody on them. They couldn't decide whether they wanted nickel or base out there, Charles.
They've run into that a few times now down the stretch about which personnel is supposed to be in a game, so they'll be working on those mechanics, getting to practice next week.
So the timeout taken here by Atlanta. As far as field goals are concerned, it is indoors. Connor Barth during pregame warm-ups from 55 yards out. We're in the extreme slow-mo for added effect.
It's pretty,
it's drama. I love it.
But you know something so far this season, guys? Connor Barth has 0 attempts at 50 or more yards. 47 is his long for this season. In his career, he's 13 for 20 from 50 or more. But again, Tampa Bay wants nothing to do with him having to kick a field goal. A touchdown can win it. Key third down throw coming up.
3rd and 5. Winston over the middle to Humphries, and Humphries with a first down. That's the third down conversion on this drive for the Buccaneers.
And they don't mind having a rookie pulling the trigger here on key plays. Humphries works inside, knows where the first down marker is, worked right to it. And look at that pass protection. Could you get a cleaner pocket on a key third down situation? I would say no.
Don't forget the game of the week, Cowboys and Seahawks, is coming up here in overtime. Tampa Bay and Atlanta, 20 apiece. Winston down the sideline. Flag is thrown. It's knocked away by Adams. Evans, the intended receiver, but it's going to be against Phillip Adams.
Okay, how many offensive
Pass
coordinators?
interference. Defense, number 20. Automatic first down at the spot of the foul.
I just wondered how many offensive coordinators, because we're going to look at a replay here, would say, you know something? I'm going to have my rookie quarterback take the shot at the end zone on first down in overtime because I trust the heck out of him right now. And Mike Evans worked on Adams again and won that battle.
It's a 16-yard pickup. Evans is on the sideline. We saw him go down earlier. Now he's laying on the ground. 1st and 10 from the 13. Remember, a touchdown ends it. Hand off, Doug Martin. But here's what I want to say. Remember how the body language looked terrible for Tampa Bay when Gerald McCoy said, "Tails, we want it"? How about the response to come out here and have this drive and now be looking at a 2nd down and 7 with the ball on the 10-yard line?
The guy who had the football, you never worried about his body language, and that's number 3, Jameis Winston. And this team has responded. Atlanta needing a big stop. Nothing more than a field goal here can be given up by Atlanta.
The toss to Martin. Look at Jameis throw a block. He said he tries to get at least one block every game.
And it might have been a time where he shouldn't have, because I feel like he helped stop the run in his enthusiasm. Watch the toss, and who's he run into first?
Yeah, restricts him from cutting back.
He actually took his vision away on the cutback. He's doing everything you want. Enthusiastic, trying to help. But Doug Martin, see how he's trying to push Jameis past him? Because he sees the gap he's trying to get to, and he doesn't get there.
It's 3rd and 4. The first down marker is the 3-yard line.
Evans is back in.
Winston throws low, incomplete. That skips to Adam Humphries.
You got to kick it now. This isn't even a decision. You got to kick and get points. And I think he had him here, guys. I think he had him and was just low with the throw. Look at that. Yeah, that's one he will definitely take on himself. He had a receiver open that could have finished the game off, and that one he missed.
Connor Barth, 2 for 2. Now looking at a 26-yard field goal to give his team the lead here in overtime. And the flag comes in from the end zone. A delay of game.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
Sometimes they don't mind getting that and getting some extra yardage because of the angle.
Yep.
Angle of the kick. It's on the right hash mark. You know, if you're a golfer, right? That's going to be a.
I'm going to draw it in.
Draw it in. You don't want to really kick the fade because then you're punching at it. You want to let it all the way out.
You don't play the
draw
fade
it over.
huh?
You want to play the fade here.
All right.
Excuse me, you want to play the draw, not the fade.
A 31-yard attempt. He doesn't play either, just goes straight at it. 23-20 in overtime. The Falcons will have a chance to respond here in Atlanta. Matt Ryan on that final drive in the 4th quarter. His team needed a touchdown. What did he do? He got his team a touchdown. The touchdown pass, that pump fake freed up Julio Jones. The extra point tied it up. And Matt Ryan is nicknamed Matty Ice. This is why.
And he got that nickname way back in the day when he was at Boston College. He's carried it over here. Some people have that ability to make themselves calm when everything else is going crazy around them. Matt Ryan's been one of those people.
You need to control the ball, protect the ball here.
Connor Barth to kick off. Weems is going to return it from about 8 yards deep in the end zone, and he will get back to the 19-yard line. There was a lot of risk there for not a lot of reward. Matt Ryan certainly stepped it up in the second half, and really it all turned after the interception. I'm sorry, after that fumble on the mesh where he slammed the helmet to the ground, and then it was a different Matt Ryan.
It's almost as if that helmet slam said enough.
Playing sudden death overtime.
Now for Tampa. They've had takeaways all day. Can they get one more and finish this game?
Julio Jones in motion on first down. Ryan able to find Jones, who breaks a tackle down the sideline, and he gets shoved out by Bradley McDougald. Let's go to LA for a quick game break. Here's Mike Hill.
They got 6 quarterbacks to throw for an NFL record 7 touchdowns in the game. Drew Brees is now one of them. The 7 going to C.J. Spiller. It is tied at 49. Saints lining up for the game-winning field goal with 5 seconds left right now.
Way to leave us hanging, Mike.
Yeah.
Game-winning field goal. Appreciate it, bros. What a game that one is. Just like the one we have right here.
1st and 10 for Atlanta. Ryan throws. Able to complete the pass to Roddy White.
Roddy White adjusting to the fact that he's not the primary target now for the Atlanta Falcons. Ran that route with some physicality, didn't he? Had to be strong on it because Mike Jenkins' coverage was good. And then trying to get the ball out, Roddy White wouldn't permit that to happen.
He picks up 5, 2nd down and 5. Pressure. Ryan fumbles the ball. Picked up now by Freeman. Wow, is that a dangerous play by Matt Ryan?
Heads up by Freeman right there.
But what a play. Was that Howard Jones, 95? They just picked him up from Pittsburgh. They tried to make him an outside linebacker. He went to Shepherd College in West Virginia, guys. Was a wide receiver in high school. Now an outside linebacker, defensive end. He looks like those ones that Lovie Smith would love. Looks like a whippet on the end of the line. And look at the speed he used to get to Matt Ryan and almost create the game-winning turnover.
3rd and 7 coming up.
Ruling on the previous play of a fumble recovered by Atlanta in advance will be reviewed.
There you have it.
I mean, last week, Jones picked up a fumble and returned it for a touchdown against Washington. But look at the play he makes. See how he's reaching? And now he's got Ryan. He's pulled him down, but he's still trying to get to the arm. And the ball comes free. And Devontae Freeman alertly gets there and picks it up for Atlanta. See, he grabs Ryan, holds him, and that ball comes free. I don't think there's any way you can call that an attempted forward pass. That's a fumble to me.
Only thing by rule, his arm is going forward when the ball comes out.
I tell you what, Goose, that is parsing it big time right there.
Yeah.
That looks like a fumble all the way from these eyes.
Let's bring in Mike Pereira. Mike, what do you see on that? Was it a fumble, or was the arm going forward like Goose was saying?
I certainly have it as a fumble because remember there's no more tuck rule, and the question is, was the arm coming down when the ball comes loose toward the ground? You know, and to me, that's the new definition here. If the hand out starts forward at one point, then he's going to tuck it back. Now let's see when the ball comes loose. Is the arm going down to the ground? And to me it is. So this was ruled a fumble and stays a fumble on the field. Again, which direction is the arm going when it comes loose? Straight down toward the ground. So to me, I think you lead this as a fumble.
And they do.
Yeah, Mike, I thought the 2nd and 3rd move by Howard Jones to get the arm of Matt Ryan kept him from making it an incomplete pass. Terrific play by Jones.
Now 3rd and 7, and this is obviously 2-down territory. Down by 3. Ryan over the middle. Is there a flag? Hardy, the intended receiver, no flag. Alteron Werner on the coverage. It looked like he was all over Justin Hardy.
Take a look as he runs the route. Hardy's right here in the slot, 16. Werner, 21 in white. I'm not so sure that Hardy didn't just kind of go to the ground
looked
there.
like he tripped up a little bit on the turf, right?
You see Werner on the play. Without seeing an obvious push in the back, it's hard to pull the flag there.
Well, here is the game. 4th and 7. They have to get to the 49-yard line. Ryan. Pressure. Ryan gets rid of it. Incomplete. Tampa Bay wins it. What a response by the Buccaneers. An emotional victory for Tampa Bay.
The pressure that they get with just a 4-man rush and just right on the leg, and that's Gerald McCoy, their Pro Bowl defensive tackle. Look at him, still fighting. He's pushed to the ground and gets to the legs of Matt Ryan. Now he has nothing to be able to throw the football with. He can't really step into a throw, but desperation has to try and make a play and forces the incompletion. We talked about Gerald McCoy. Maybe the body language wasn't great at the coin toss, but the effort certainly was to finish the ball game.
Unbelievable finish. 23-20 for Charles Davis, Tony Siragusa. I'm Justin Kutcher. Coming up next, America's Game of the Week, Seattle and Dallas.